Part 45. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tiu Lan. Chapter 445. Tuesday, July 10th, the weather was extremely hot. Men and women, big and small, more or less, in short, as long as they are students, they are all standing still on the playground, whispering to each other. It was not until the principal in suits and ties stepped onto the podium, facing all the teachers and students, that the noise subsided slightly under the blazing sun. The breeze brings the beginning of summer. In this gentle afternoon, all the teachers and students of our Minged school gather here to welcome the new beginning of the new year. Here, we believe that education is not only the flow of knowledge, but also the body challenges and voyages with the soul. On the vast road of life. Let me tell you, how long is this guy Tachibana Qingyuan going to talk on stage? This sentence came from the teacher next to her. Suzu almost thought she heard it wrong, but when she saw that it was Azusa Amamai who was holding a lollipop in her mouth, she was instantly relieved. I thought it was teacher Daojing who said this, but it turned out to be you, Aunt. Suzu Sakakihara stretched out her hand to cover her forehead, raised her chin and stood on tiptoes, looking at the unstoppable sun above the playground. The surrounding students kept fanning their faces with their hands, and large drops of sweat streaked across their faces. What's the word? Tianhaiza was also sweating. She said while fanning herself, Auntie is a human being too. The temperature is 39 degrees. I have to stand with you on the playground. If this wasn't in a public place, I would definitely go up and help Tachibana Qingyuan bump your ass. Sakakihara Suzu became curious. It sounds like my aunt is very familiar with Principal Tachibana. Tianhaiza waved his hand casually and explained, his surname is Orange. He had a close relationship with the Tianhai family in the past. His mother often visited our Tianhai family. When I was a child, we went to the swimming pool together, and I even ran past him dragging his penis. Sakakihara Suzu turned around and looked at Principal Tachibana, who was wearing rimless glasses on the podium and looked particularly serious under the bright sun. Inexplicably, I fell into endless thinking. Students, at the end of the day, I hope that every soul who comes to Minged school can find the distance of ideals and struggles here. Let us work together to transcend the boundaries of time, space, and grade, and use sports to interpret the glory of life. Principal Takabana's impassioned speech finally won the applause of countless students. Tianhaiza breathed a sigh of relief. It's finally over. The 73rd Sports Universiade of Minged School officially begins. Red, blue, green, orange, yellow. At the entrance to the playground, near the teaching building, colorful cheerleaders appeared in pure white floodlight pleated skirts, team uniforms, baseball caps, and bright colors. The students of the performance department carried various musical instruments and played the march passionately with smiles and uniform steps and new dances. In each class formation, a male student kept jumping on the back of another male student, asking to see the cheerleading girls wearing navel-bearing outfits. The students were very excited, but only Tianhaiza knew that he had to accompany the students in the sun for another half an hour. Trouble. Asterisk. After the celebration, the school song was sung together, and the sports festival officially began. The students quickly started various sports, but for Tianhaiza, her work was also over. Just leave the task of counting students to Daojing. She is more comfortable hanging around the school. Slender, fat, short, tall, and good-looking students who were originally wearing neat suits and school uniforms are now wearing thin white sports t-shirts and shorts. Although she doesn't mind, but for the boys in school, the girls dressing up is not as cute and beautiful as a pleated skirt, a white shirt and a bow, right? Of course, a truly cute girl cannot be covered by clothes. When she was wandering around, She often heard some boys talking about going to see the Tianhai sisters play basketball, and also said that they wanted to go see Zhigzhu and Xiaoling. This is probably what is called popularity, right? The temperament of Xiaoqi and Xiaoju will indeed make many boys fall in love at first sight. She counted the time it took her to come to school. At least 21 boys, after seeing Tianhai Juli Yulai in motion, became determined to improve themselves and ran around the playground every day. They want to use this to improve themselves so that they can enter the circle of Xiaoju who also likes sports. A girl who longs for the love of a beautiful girl and wants to work hard to improve herself will be extremely satisfied just by taking one more look at herself. What a simple secret love emotion. Until a classmate accidentally told them, Amamai Kururi is Sakeki Hararaku's girlfriend, didn't you know? On the playground under the sunset, there are no traces of the young people working hard. Tianhaize thought that he was quite emotional when he thought of these things. After all, I haven't experienced this taste of youth for a long time. However, speaking of Xiao Li, a lot of things have happened to him recently. Tianhaize was actually quite curious. Originally, she planned to let a few people slowly try to get in touch with each other and tolerate each other until the rice was cooked, until everyone had feelings and it was no longer possible to separate, and then she would confess to the old man. But I didn't expect that the relationship between several people would develop like that a while ago. Xiao Li breaks up with Xiao Qi because of Ji Shui. Zhigzhu was in a dilemma among several people. Ling and Lu Li went through some things one after another. They wanted to help Xiao Li and Xiao Qi get back together, but it backfired. It made the two of them even more unfamiliar. The nickname premature ejaculation soft rice man that Xiao Qi casually said a while ago made it known to the whole school and even reached the ears of his teacher. Could it be that Xiao really had premature ejaculation? What will happen to Yuki's life in the future? But now is not the time to think about these messy things. What is important is the complicated relationship between these people. There was honestly nothing she could do about the situation. But I became very interested in what Ling said recently. My brother has changed a lot, and I became curious to find out. In addition, the old man also gave himself a new order to take care of the feelings of a few people and provide help when necessary. Tianhaize now had to understand the current situation of several people. The events in the afternoon of the opening ceremony were all small events, such as standing long jump, high jump, and so on. The focus is on the next morning. The first round of the women's basketball game starts at 9:30 in the morning. As the teacher closest to Class 1 of Year 2 and the elder of several participating children, she promised them to watch the event on time. Therefore, when Tianhaize discovered that she had overslept the next day, she immediately drove to school. After checking in at the teacher's office, she hurried to the gymnasium. Late. She hurriedly walked to the auditorium of Class 2, Class 1, and stood with Raku Sakakibara, who was standing at the front. Sakakihara glanced at her aunt, who was so tired that she was holding her knees with both hands, and thought that she still had a long way to go as a teacher. At this time, the game has not officially started, and the teams from both sides have just assembled. When Tianhaize looked up, he saw the women's basketball team of Class 6, headed by Tianhai Juli Yulai, standing opposite the women's basketball team of Class 6. Because it was girls' basketball, even in the preliminary round, the gymnasium was crowded with classmates. Amamai Azusa casually opened a lollipop and put it in her mouth, and saw Amamai Yuki standing next to Sakakibara Suzu, wearing the number 8 jersey. She smiled and said, "She seems quite sensible. Especially Zhigzhu, haha, she has never had such a serious expression before." Sakakibara knew that his aunt was talking to him, so he followed her words. After all, Yuki's hard work in the past 2 months is obvious to all. I can still see her playing basketball every night after get off work. Although she doesn't remember me and doesn't even say hello. Sakakibara tilted his head. It sounds like NZI cares about this very much. Xiao Le, if you don't have any classmates next to you, you have to call me sister. Tianhaize stretched out his voice and wanted to give him a shock, but he pulled away in advance and dodged it. She pulled back. Forget it, I don't really want to deal with you, Xiao. As for whether you care or not, just kidding, which sister wouldn't care that her sister doesn't recognize her? Isn't there just a bunch of people in Tianhai's house? Tianhaize waved her hands in disgust. My sisters are not sisters to Yuki. To be honest, Xiao. What? That old man still wants to thank you. Grandpa, thank me? Grandpa, that's more like a compromise without any solution. That old guy is just telling the truth. The old man has been hanging around the school recently. Of course, he also saw Zhixue playing basketball at night. So what? To put it bluntly, this girl's Zhixue has never done anything proactively except eating. The old man wants to change her, but he doesn't know how to do it. She doesn't like exercise either, but Xiao, you did it? Tianhaize is very serious. Xiao Le, you did what he couldn't do, and you also filled the empty feelings in Zhixue's heart for him. This is what he wants to thank you for. Sakakibara pondered for a moment. What else does Grandpa say? He didn't say anything, but he should also know what happened between you and Kioliuli. If you need to go to him for anything, he most likely won't refuse. The whistle blows and the referee throws the basketball high. Tianhaijuliuli jumped up first, got the basketball first and took control of the situation. Raku Sakakihara stared at the women on the court who were responding to each other and passing the ball. After thinking for a moment, he said, "There is nothing I need Grandpa's help with now." Tianhaize pinched the lollipop and nodded, "No, it's okay. But this is also his statement to you. He should not care about you and Kioliuli dating at the same time. Pretty ridiculous." Tianhaize suddenly laughed. Tianhai's Zhixue on the court happened to receive the pass from Tianhai Kaimingyu and passed the two people. She turned around and threw towards the basket, scoring 2 points. Sakakibara Raku said while applauding Amamai Yuki, who looked towards him and waved hello to him. Maybe Grandpa has lived for such a long time and has seen a lot of strong winds and waves. I am not surprised by this incident. Xiao Le, you have to know that these things are not something that the Tianhai family can spread to the outside world. Tianhaize followed the audience's applause and also applauded his sister. The old man can do this mainly because he owes so much to Zhixue. He wants to make up for it. Compensate. Yes, compensate. Try your best to compensate. As long as she is happy and does not hinder the development of the family, he will be particularly merciful. Raku Sakakibara looked at Tenkai Yuki, who was sweating on the court and with a big white flower on the back of his head. What he recalled in his mind was the quiet and lost look of Yuki in the past. But, Aunt Zi, if you do something wrong, you have done something wrong. No matter how you make up for it, you can't undo the damage caused. Tianhaize didn't understand why he suddenly said this, but after thinking about it, he replied. It depends on the person whether you forgive or not. For some people, a sincere heart is enough, while for others, they have to compensate until their desires are satisfied. While chatting, the first half of the game ended. There is actually nothing much to say about the beginning of the game. The overall level of the women's basketball team is not even a little worse than that of the men's basketball team. Because almost no girls want to be covered in sweat every day. Therefore, after Tianhaijuliuli led them in the first half, this preliminary match set the tone for victory. In the first half, the first team defeated the 6th class with 10 goals. In the second half, with the ball control of Tianhai Kaimingyu and the strong attack of Tianhaijuliuli and Tianhai's Zhixue, the score was pushed to 52. The audience who came just to see the beautiful girl from the Tianhai family were shocked. I didn't expect that a beautiful girl is really capable at playing basketball. The last ball. Tianhai's Higsu connected with one person, connected with two people, and connected with three people. Almost with her signature volley, she scored the final score in one fell swoop. A whistle blew, symbolizing the end of the game. To sum up this preliminary match, Tianhai's saw too many novelties on the court. First up is Sakakihara Suzu. This lazy girl can actually run so well? She is also often heard shouting to others, "Pass it to me. Pass it to me." Absolute momentum and responsibility. Next is the 7 bright moons in the sky and the sea. Hasn't this girl been frail since she was a child? You have to pant for a long time just to run, but now you can run with your teammates. Every time she receives the ball, she will clearly analyze the situation and pass it to the most promising teammate. Then there is the snow in the sky and sea. This girl seems to be a different person. A girl who is usually so helpless can actually be so aggressive. And Tianhai, isn't she usually weak and energetic? Why are you so fierce in playing basketball? As for Li Yulai is the core of the team, and her offense is unmatched by the opponent. Everyone has changed, but the one that has changed the most must be Tianhai's Higsu. On the last ball, she and Xiaju actively cooperated and attacked alternately, and finally won the final score amidst the cheers of the whole class. Yoshiyuki Fujino had previously organized the boys in his class to form a male cheerleading team, and also bought cheering sticks to cheer for the women's basketball team in his class. When Higsu finally scored a wonderful goal, all the boys in class 1 shook their cheer sticks wildly and shouted "Yuki! Yuki! Yuki!" in unison, shouting uncontrollably, as if they were in heaven with excitement. This momentum, compared with the boy in class 6 opposite, made the other person lose face. At the end of the game, Amami Yuki, who had just a little sweat on her forehead, immediately came to Sakakibara wearing new sneakers. It was obvious that she was very happy. "Ellie, I won." Sakakihara smiled. "How do you feel?" "It's great, everyone is great. Whether it's Ruri-san, Ling, Tiano-san, Kyo-san, everyone is great. Anything else?" Also Tianhai's Higsu thought for a moment, the opponent is so weak, and can't compare to Le and Minister Le and the others. That's for sure. Makino and I have been playing basketball for who knows how many years. Sakakibara smiled slightly. "Also, it's a good thing that your words were not heard by the people in class 6, Yuki. You must respect your opponent when you win. You must not say that the other party is weak or anything. It's polite here." "Yeah, I'll remember that." Tianhaizi interjected with a smile. "After all, you invited boys from Xiao's basketball club to be your sparring partners, and you cultivate teamwork every day. If you play against an ordinary girls' basketball team, it must be awesome." Sister Tianhai's Higsu saw Tianhaizi and said hello. "Yeah, Yuki, just remember to call me sister now." Tianhaizi suddenly saw the shoes on her feet and remembered that they were not the ones she usually wore, new ones. Tianhai's Higsu turned her head to look at the white sneakers, stood on her toes, and there seemed to be a light in her eyes. "Le bought them for me. It fits very well." Amami Azusa heard that Sakakibara Raku bought it, and found that Ling, Li Yulai and Kia were all walking towards this place behind her, and her smile became even wider. "I didn't expect Xiao Le to be so attentive. Yuki is going to compete. And buy her a new pair of shoes. New sneakers." Sakakibara Suzu from behind heard this and immediately stepped over from behind, with an angry expression, like an unhappy chicken. "Brother, you are buying it for Yuki, but you are not buying it for me. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple." Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tio Yu Lan. Chapter 446. "Brother, you're buying it for Yuki, but you're not buying it for me." Sakakihara Suzuki said angrily, and even took a sneak peek at the new shoes on Amami no Yuki's feet. They were white and so bright that they shone. There will be more later. There will be a future? What do you mean there will be a future? We are obviously competing together, and neither Sister Liuli nor I have a problem. Sakakibara Suzu's unhappy face was thrown in front of her. Sakakibara was forced to turn her head and reluctantly explained under her questioning. Zhigzyu's shoes are worn out. The sneakers she wears for practice are the ones you wore, and no one bought them for her. I can't buy her a new pair. Acid. Sour. To be honest, although my brother's words are reasonable, after seeing the beautiful new shoes on Zhigzyu's feet, I still feel a bit jealous. Sakakibara Raku has seen his sister's expression like this many times. Why does she have it but I don't? Why can she go out but I can't? Why don't you take me with you? Children are like this, they are very sensitive to so-called differences. Raku Sakakibara remembers that when he was a child, he and his mother would go out to get something and come back an hour later. He could just ask Suzu to stay at home and wait. But she didn't want to and had to go with him. If he didn't take her with him, she would feel aggrieved. The ground sheds tears. This probably means that I feel like I have been left behind. But children should grow up one day. Come on. Sakakibara hit his younger sister on the head with a knife. I have given you so many things since you were a child. Don't just try to grab what others have. Look, Liuli, as my girlfriend, hasn't said anything yet. That's because Sister Liuli is generous, but I'm stingy. Suzu Sakakihara hugged Sakakihara Raku's right arm in public, her cute face was bulging, she looked at him and muttered, I want new shoes too. This is in the gymnasium, with so many classmates around. I want. You don't want your idle airs anymore. I want. Raku Sakakibara glanced at the many classmates who were looking this way. He really had no choice about such a grown-up sister who still wanted to act coquettishly in front of her brother. But people still have to grow up after all. No. I want. No. I want. Sakakihara Suzu was unhappy. She stared at her brother's face that had not softened at all. She was extremely unhappy, thinking about when he had become so tough. In the past, if I wanted any gift, I would have it if I acted coquettishly. But this time, not only did Sakakihara Raku not relent, he became even more severe. He shook off his sister's hand that held him, pinched his wrist and said, if you don't give it, you won't give it? I didn't even give you Liuli, so what are you going to do? You only bought these sneakers for more than a month, and it's a waste of new shoes. This thing is not for you to show off. Sakakihara Suzu couldn't believe that he actually took the initiative to shake her off, her eyes widened, you. Too much. This is really too much. What does it mean to throw yourself away in public? Quarrel. Why are you acting so indifferent? I just want a new pair of shoes. Even if you promise to give them to me after the competition, that's fine. What are you going to do to get rid of yourself? Before I quarreled with you, I had been thinking of helping you. In this short moment, Sakakihara Suzu felt aggrieved. Of course she wouldn't leave like she did before, but she just noticed that her brother had become a stranger again. Azusa Amami was on the side, staring curiously at Raku Sakakihara, who just took the initiative to throw away Xiao Suzu's arm. She also noticed something was wrong. Don't argue, it's just a pair of shoes. Upon seeing this, Amami Kuriyuri immediately came to smooth things over, persuading the two brothers Sakakihara Raku and Sakakihara Suzu. Tianhai's Higsu also said halfway that she might as well get her shoes ready. It's okay, I'm not angry. Sakakihara Suzu knew that everyone had good intentions, but she just stared at her brother with some confusion. He's a changed person. At this time, Tianhai Kaimingyu, who had been silent until now, interrupted midway. Sakakihara Suzu looked back at her, unhappy. Why are you talking about my brother like that? Tianhai Kaimingyu did not speak immediately, but after being quiet for a while, she calmly said, the facts are before our eyes. My brother, that's it. Sakakibara Suzu turned around, looked at Sakakibara Raku, and then said to Amamai Nanamai Minjio, my brother, didn't he become like this because of the dilemma between Kyo's sister and Yuki? Can't blame him. I don't want to argue with you. Instead of discussing this anymore, let's get ready for the next game. Well, that's it? After Tianhai Kaimingyu finished speaking, he turned around and left for the locker room. Sakakibara Suzu wanted to say something else, but when she looked at Sakakibara Raku, who was completely different from usual, the unfamiliar sense of distance made her completely speechless. After taking one more look at my brother, he also left, following the pace of Tianhai Kaimingyu. Lejun, why do you say that? After watching the two people leave, after a long period of time, Amamai Kuruori couldn't help but ask Sakakibara Raku. Lejun also understands that doing this will break Suzu-chan's heart, right? Sakakibara closed her eyes, showing no excessive emotion. Suzu needs to be independent. I will give her whatever she wants. It will only make her dependent on me for the rest of her life. But Ling, isn't this already the case? That's why change is needed. But Lejun just gave her extra lessons for Ling the day before yesterday. I won't agree to non-essential requests. Just like asking for sneakers just now, it's just that her mind is unbalanced. It would be better if she hates me a little bit. Li Yulai, please do your best next game, I will continue to watch. After Sakakibara finished answering Amamai Kuruori's words, he turned around and said one or two words of encouragement to Amamai Nwayuki, and then left. Tianhai Yulai stared blankly at his retreating figure. Xiao Li, have you been like this lately? Tianhaizi appeared beside him and asked. Tianhai Yulai nodded, then shook his head, that's not quite right. Sometimes Lejun will be very talkative, and sometimes he will be like this. He becomes colder than before. Azusa Amamai held a lollipop in her mouth, stared at Raku Sakakibara's back as she walked outside the gym, and thought seriously for a moment. What about you, Li Yulai? How do you feel when you get along in private? It feels like, Tianhai Yulai recalled carefully, it feels like he's not as enthusiastic as before. He's usually quite nice, and he'll smile at me and buy me things, but he can buy them for me, so why not? Where is Ling Mei? I don't know how I feel. Where's Yuki? What did you say? Tianhaiza turned around and asked again. Tianhai's Higsu raised her head. Le is very normal. He said a lot to me last night, and then he played basketball with me until 1 o'clock in the morning. Tianhai Yulai was very surprised. Did he accompany you until the early morning, Yuki? Tianhai's Higsu nodded, yes. Is that normal? I said a lot to you last night. Tianhaiza thought again, it sounds like he has a different attitude towards each of you. Standing alone with him for a while, I also think he is weird. Weird. What's his attitude towards July? Tianhai Yulai tried his best to explain, and Tianhaizi understood the current situation of several people. Yuki, can you repeat what Xiao said to you last night and roughly what it meant? Do you still remember it? Remember? Well. After listening to Tianhai's Higsu's statement, Tianhaizi understood a little bit. Yeah. I see. Xiao and Kyo dislike each other every day. But he still tells you, Yuki, that you need to be confident in yourself. Tianhai Yulai asked, what does Aunt Zi have about Lejun's changes? I actually want to take him to see a psychiatrist, but it's not good to tell him directly, but I'm worried. There is no need for a psychiatrist. Xiao doesn't have any psychological problems. But if you have any doubts, there must be some, but I'm not sure. Tianhai Yulai, Can Aunt Zi take care of Lejun more often? I'm quite worried about her current situation. Tian Haize smiled and said, Xiao Le is not Xiao Ju your boyfriend. That's what I say, but I always feel like there's something wrong with Lejun. But when I'm alone with him, I don't feel this way at all. After Tian Haize listened, he thought for a moment, okay, I've noticed a lot of Xiao recently. If there's anything special about it, I'll tell you. Then thank you and first. It's okay. Taking care of you now is also the job assigned to me by the old man. Asterisk. In order to fulfill the promise made to Xiao Li Yulai. That afternoon, Azusa Amamai decided to watch Raku Sakakibara's basketball game. The boys' basketball preliminary round was held on a designated playground, with the sun shining in the sky. In order to prevent one side from being overwhelmed by strength, only class teams can participate in the campus sports festival. That is, team members must be classmates in the same class. Tian Haizu remembers that only Fujino and Xiao played basketball every day in class 1 of their second grade, and the other boys could only be said to know a little bit about it. But even so, when the boys' team from class 1 of year 2 faced off against senior level classes like class 4 of year 3, they were completely crushed. That's right, a complete crush. Tian Haize watched the game all the way to the end, with the score going from 720 to 11:60. Xiao's performance was really dazzling. When he cooperated with Fujino, there was no way the other side could stop the two of them. There was even one time when 5 people were guarding Xiao Le, but Xiao Le didn't even run past the center line. He just stayed on the spot and took off from half court to shoot. The ball kept flying, and it was so far away that all the students present were stunned. When entering the box, there was total silence, not even the sound of cheering could be heard. It wasn't until the last moment that he burst out with words full of praise like he's so handsome. Some of the boys also commented, that's so cool. Tian Haize saw the scene among the students and couldn't help but wonder. With Xiao Li's ability, when he was training a few of them a while ago, he was more or less giving in to them, right? Does this mean he is still thinking about them? Xiao's game is over. Tian Haize followed him quietly. The next step was normal. After the game, I changed into my jersey, then went back to the tent of class 2, where I, as the class leader, directed the students to distribute mineral water to the athletes. Some students didn't come to gather when the time was almost up, so he went to the student union broadcast station in person and asked the students in the broadcast department to help them shout. Be conscientious in this regard. Then came the fun part. When Raku Sakakibara went downstairs, he happened to meet Nanami Izuki, who had just come out of the classroom. The two immediately bumped into each other. Tian Haize followed, originally expecting the two people to have a big quarrel, or at least some sarcasm. But neither. Some were just two people, passing each other as if they were strangers. It was as if the two had never known each other. Watching Sakakibara Raku go downstairs, Amamai Azusa hurriedly chased after Amamai Nanamijetsu, who took another road. Take her shoulders. What's the matter with Aunt Zi? Tian Haikimingyu turned around. This girl is still so good looking, with a cold and bright face and an awe-inspiring temperament. Xiaoqi. Auntie, just ask if you have anything. Tian Haikimingyu sighed. Well, I just want to know about the recent affairs between you and Xiao. I think you probably know the reason. After understanding it, I can give an explanation to my family. Tian Haikimingyu held the book, and her sky-blue eyes under the gold-rimmed glasses showed complete indifference and calmness. Just ask whatever you want. Well, then I won't talk nonsense. What did Xiao say to you that made you disappointed in him like this? He said too many words, Tian Haikimingyu replied, but the other thing that I don't believe in him at all is what he said to me himself. Everything he did to me was just out of love for me. Nothing more than sympathy and deceptive promises made to lull me. Yeah, that's it. But Zyoki, don't you think he said that on purpose? Tianhai Kaimingyu had no unnecessary reaction at all. I might have thought so in the past, but now, facts can only prove that what he said is right. Even if I am still willing to believe him, his actions cannot inspire trust at all. Then with your temperament in Kyo, you are so disappointed in him, why don't you just run away? The expression of Kaimingyu in Tianhai remains the same. If it weren't for my sister who still wanted to stay here, I would definitely do this. But it's not bad now. Just pretend you don't know him. Everyone has his own life, and no one needs to take care of anyone else. The relationship between the two has been completely broken off. It sounds like Xiaoqi doesn't care what he means at all. Then what are you going to do next, Zyoki? Didn't Li Yulai say before that you have been targeting Xiao? Read, study, graduate, and go to the company if you have nothing to do. Why does life have to be bound to one person? I have my own way of living. The 7 bright moons in the sky and the sea became calmer and calmer as they talked. If Aunt Zi still negotiates with that person and he takes the initiative to ask me about my affairs, he will answer for me and say, I am quite grateful to him now, and thank him for what he said to me, so that I don't have to worry about it anymore. Be aware of the shadows of the past. Thanks, and goodbye once and for all. It sounds like Xiaoqi is really open-minded. It seems that Xiaoqi really doesn't care whether Xiao Li has premature ejaculation, but feels that his words and deeds are inconsistent and cannot be trusted. Oh, there's more. Tianhai Chi Minjiao turned sideways, took out a neatly folded piece of paper from the pocket of her pleated skirt, and handed it to Tianhai Zi. My sister and I's competition ended in the morning. I'm not interested in other people's projects in the afternoon, so I asked for a day off. I need to go to the company to have a look. I asked Aunt Zi to forward it to teacher Daojing on my behalf. Do you have to go to the company when you go to school? It seems that he wants to focus on his career. From now on, Zyoki's focus and goal will most likely be on herself. This is actually quite good. People only think about themselves, no matter how happy they live or how many people love and respect them, but at least they will live well. Tianhaize took the note and glanced at it once or twice in advance. The font was smooth and neat. It's okay to hand it over for you, but no one will say anything if you just leave. Process is still needed. The same goes for handling company affairs. Watching Tianhai Kaimingyu's long flaxen hair scattered behind her head gradually fade away, Tianhaize fell into thinking. In her mind, she kept recalling what several people said to her today, as well as the back of Raku Sakakihara, who was the only one who chose to leave. Combined with his actions of still choosing to take care of Zhigzhu and Li Yulai's relationship, and the fact that Tianhai Kaimingyu has become completely independent now, his actions seem to have a deeper meaning. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Buletin 11 Huan Tio Yu Lan. Chapter 447. Tian Nai, tell me, why was my brother so mean this morning? On the night of the second day of the sports festival, after taking a shower, Sakakihara Suzu lay on the big bed in the bedroom and chatted with Sakai Chitano about what happened this morning. The message was answered quickly. Maybe Sakakibara-kun just feels a little embarrassed to be held by Suzu-chan like that. Sakakihara Suzu pursed her lips, twisted a cookie on the bedside table and put it into her mouth, then turned around and typed a reply. It doesn't feel right, brother, he's never been like this before. Suzu-chan was angry this morning. Sakakihara Suzu hesitated for a moment and continued typing. It's still a bit, after all, there were so many people watching, and he just gave me a pair of shoes. If I don't give them, I won't give them. Well. Sakakibara Suzu put the cell phone she was holding in her hands on her stomach and stared blankly at the ceiling. She put her head in her hands and really couldn't understand why her brother was so cruel to her suddenly. However, what happened recently was extremely complicated, and she couldn't understand it at all. Goo. Tossing and turning, my stomach made a sound. Hungry. He reached for the biscuits he just had and finished them. Sakakibara Suzu covered her stomach and looked at the time on her phone. It was 9:30 in the evening, and her expression suddenly seemed to be breathless. Brother doesn't want to cook anything for himself. So, we can only order takeout. It seems that's the only way it can be. Suzu Sakakihara opened her mouth in displeasure, opened the takeout app, and ordered 2 pieces of pizza to be delivered. She was really hungry during the wait, so she got out of bed and planned to go to the refrigerator in the living room to look for something to eat. Just go to bed after eating dash. Yawning, as soon as he opened the door, he kicked something. Sakakihara Suzu looked down and saw that it was actually a shoebox. It has a very trendy design pattern and red and blue colors, which is super cool at first glance. Huh. Suzu Sakakihara picked up the shoebox, shook it and looked around, and then saw a printed sticker with black text on a white background indicating the length of 23 centimeters on the side of the shoebox. One look at the shoe size told her who put it here. New shoes. The melancholy expression on Suzu Sakakihara's face suddenly brightened, and the speed at which she held the shoebox and looked at it increased accordingly. What? Someone is being mean and giving me gifts at the same time. He is duplicitous. Sure enough, he still can't let me go. Sakakihara Suzu said these words angrily, opened the seal of the shoebox, and took a look at the shoes inside. A mix of blue and red, these shoes are super cool and trendy at first glance. Wow, looks good. Sakakibara Suzu smiled even more and couldn't wait to take out her shoes and put them on. Then she returned to her room and stood in front of the full-length mirror. She was scissor hands and put her hands on her waist to pretend to be cool. After admiring my new sneakers with satisfaction, Sakakihara Suzu immediately felt that her brother understood her and knew what style she liked. Although he has been very strange recently. I was still cruel to myself in the morning, but for the sake of this gift, it's not unforgivable. By the way, where is my brother? Sakakibara Suzu walked out of the room and looked left and right in the living room, balcony, and bedroom, but there was no sign of Sakakibara Suzu. Are you playing ball with Yuki again? Sakakihara Suzu went back to her room and put on a coat, casually put a short skirt on her waist, and took the elevator downstairs. Go to the nearby basketball court where Yuki has been going to recently. But only Tianhai's Higsu was seen practicing basketball here. Happy. Tianhai's Higsu wore a white short skirt and short sleeves, and her hair was tied back into a ponytail. She is holding a basketball and her figure is very slender. Compared to the past, her appearance at this moment was more neat and heroic. Have fun at home, she replied. He's not at home. Seeing that Yuki didn't know anything, Suzu Sakakihara immediately took out her mobile phone, found the contact and called her brother. The phone is connected. Sakakihara Suzu chatted for a few words, found out where he was, and then hung up the phone. Tianhai's Higsu blinked, where is the joy? Sakakibara Suzu put her phone back into her pocket, he said he was blowing the night breeze on the edge of Tokyo Bay. I'll go find him right now, Yuki, do you want to come with us? After Tianhai's Higsu thought for a moment, he held the basketball and shook his head, I won't. If everything is fine, I will continue to practice basketball. Today's task has not been up to standard. You really worked hard enough. Well, I'll go find him. Higsu, remember to rest early. We have a competition tomorrow. It's best to keep your spirits up. After waving goodbye to Amami no Yuki, Sakakibara Suzu casually found a taxi and went to the location of Sakakibara Lefa. 10 minutes later, there was a small park next to Tokyo Bay. It was a bit dark late at night, and there were only a few passers-by walking through the park. Sakakihara Suzu remembers that this park was the last time she came to see Sister Kyo. So she stood on tiptoe, stood in the park, looked ahead, and found the way there. Passing through a small forest, Suzu Sakakihara saw Raku Sakakihara sitting on the edge of the bay. "What are you doing sitting here? The sea breeze is slightly cool, but the lights on the other side are still bustling. Cruise ships with flashing advertisements cruise leisurely between the bays." Sakakibara sat alone on the shore with his legs hanging outside. There was a Honda CBR motorcycle parked next to him, and some aluminum cans were piled up in a mess on the right side. Sakakihara Suzu sat down next to him curiously. "Why are you here sitting here?" Sakakihara knew who was coming here without looking back. "Blow the wind, it's too hot. Wouldn't it be cooler if you turned on the air conditioner at home?" Sakakihara Suzu sat next to him, with her legs hanging outside like him. He picked up the empty can he had set aside and used the light from the other side reflected on the water to clearly see the word beer written on the can. "Beer, beer." Sakakihara Suzu frowned and turned her head to ask him, "Why are you still drinking?" "Drink if you want." Sakakibara took another sip. "Brother, you are not yet 20 years old. Drinking is against the law." Sakakihara slowly picked up the can and put it to his mouth, his eyes reflecting the fireworks in the city on the other side. "No one knows anyway. No one knows what it means anyway. Breaking the law is breaking the law. Be careful, I will call the police and let the police lock you up." "Then call the police." Sakakihara Suzu knew that her brother was confident and was sure that she would not call the police. But not calling the police didn't mean she was helpless. "Then I'll drink too." Sakakibara Suzu reached out to grab the beer in his hand, but was stopped by a pair of hands that suddenly stretched out. If you follow your head and look up, you can see Sakakihara Raku's faintly turned face. "You are not allowed to drink." The sea breeze blew the hair of the brother and sister at the same time. "What do you mean I can't drink?" Sakakibara Suzu went to grab it again, but Sakakibara Raku snatched the two cans and put them on his other side. This time Sakakihara Suzu had no choice but to sulk. "Brother, you can drink it, why can't I? You're still a kid." "What a kid? You are only 2 years older than me, okay." Sakakihara Suzu was unhappy when she suddenly laughed. "Brother, if you don't let me drink, are you caring about me?" Sakakibara didn't answer, he just faced the sea again without looking at her. "Brother." Sakakihara Suzu quietly moved her buttocks with her hands on both sides, then stuck her head out, blocking his view with a smile and surprise. "Don't try to hide from me. I will find you wherever you hide." Sakakibara closed his eyes. "I'm not allowed to drink unless I say you're allowed to drink. I'm your brother, just listen to me. You know now that I am your sister." She was so fierce in the morning. "Oh, by the way," Sakakihara Suzu smoothed the hem of her skirt on her legs and smiled even more prettierly, "the pair of shoes left at my door at night are from my brother. You let it go?" "Yes." Sakakihara paused for a moment. He. "Duplicitous Uni-chan, if you want to apologize to your sister, just say so. I will accept it. Even though I'm not that angry in the first place." Sakakihara Suzu raised her legs at the same time and showed him her new shoes. "Look, I'm wearing my new sneakers now. I'm really not angry with you." Sakakihara Suzu stared at her brother's side face, and then glanced at least 9 empty cans beside her, thinking that he was probably drunk. "Brother, why did you say that to me in the morning?" This time Sakakibara no longer dealt with it casually. Instead, after drinking another can of beer, he explained. "Do you remember what I told you before? Want to be independent? It seems you still remember." "That's right. My original intention is to make you more independent and stop asking me to act like a spoiled child all the time. That's why I said that. Sakakihara Suzu retorted and added in a cute voice. But you are my biological brother. We have grown up together for more than 10 years. If I don't act coquettishly on you, hee, who am I acting like a coquettish person to? And this morning, brother, you really went too far. I know I've gone too far. You can tell that I've been too free recently and can't hold it back. How about you apologize to me? Sorry. Okay. I, the Lord Angel, am very merciful and forgive you. As Suzu Sakakibara spoke, she suddenly took out a box of takoyaki from behind her back. Jong light snack. Then he waved it in front of Sakakihara Raku. I bought it when I saw it on the street. Does it smell good? Fragrant. Well, brother, do you want to eat? Feed me. Okay. For the sake of buying me new shoes and apologizing to me, I will love you for a while and feed you. Sakakibara Suzu inserted a takoyaki and fed it into Sakakibara Raku's mouth, and he bit it down. Is it delicious? Just average, a bit old. That's right, the food you make is not as delicious as my brother. However, this experience is still quite novel for Sakakihara Suzu. Feed brother food. But no matter how many pills she fed, Sakakibara Raku always had the same expression. Brother? Are you unhappy? Unhappy? What am I unhappy about? There is nothing unhappy about me now. I drive alone every day, and I usually play basketball in school and there are countless people following me. Why can't I be happy? But you don't look very happy now. Sakakibara Suzu put the takoyaki into her mouth and said while eating. Sakakibara did not respond directly, but turned around and suddenly smiled. It's better not to talk about me, but to talk about you, Suzu. When can your concert start? Concert? I'll do the math. Sakakibara Suzu put the transparent plastic lunchbox on her lap and counted on her fingers, about. In 2 weeks, there is a chance. 2 weeks. Well, what's up? It's pretty good. Aling, do you want me to go see it? Why don't you want to? Brother, if you come to see me perform, of course I welcome you. I see. Sakakibara laughed suddenly again. This time you're not like before, you're not letting me watch you work at all costs. That was before. Was it good before? Sakakihara Suzu was slightly embarrassed, but quickly recovered. In the past, I felt that the things I dubbed were so shameful, and I didn't have the shame to let my classmates and family see them. What now? Now Ani-I-chan. Stop it. Sakakibara stretched out his hand and blocked her mouth, and Sakakibara could only scream. Don't call me with that voice. And then let go. TCH, if you don't listen, someone else is paying me to record a segment. A fan. That's right. Out of nowhere, he sent me a private message on Twitter and said that he could give you 20 million yen. Just listen to my shout. Oops, it's only 20 million yen. I don't care about it. Sakakibara only saw his sister's proud look. You don't think this is a liar? Liar? Really? I didn't think about that. Raku Sakakihara was speechless. You are really innocent. Remember, in the future, don't be deceived. Now that you are somewhat famous, you have to be careful about kidnapping. Alright, Suzu Sakakihara waved her hand to reassure him. Anyway, my identity behind my back now is also the third lady of the Amami family. Senior Yoshihara said that no one in Tokyo dares to touch me, so you don't have to worry. What unspoken rules in the industry can be applied to me, they don't apply. Sakakibara looked at her for a few more seconds, then looked away, as if he suddenly felt relieved. That's right, now you have a lot of people taking care of you, Suzu. Brother, you talk like a mother again, wow. After all, I am half your father, do you understand? Who wants to admit that you are half of my father? No, you are my brother, you are my brother. Even if we are not related by blood, you are still my brother. What nonsense are you talking about? So, don't be unhappy. I'm not even angry with you. You have such a lovely sister, and why don't you smile? Otherwise, I would be really angry. Sakakihara Suzu raised her fleshy face. Seeing his sister's bulging face, Sakakihara smiled again. I don't know how many times I have had such a plain, yet heartwarming brother-sister chat over the years. Every time he sees some children playing alone, Sakakihara Raku will be happy that he has a sister who likes him to accompany him. The girl also grew taller and taller with the passage of time, became capable of her own, and was able to live in this society. Good. It's really gratifying. Raku Sakakibara drank the last can of beer in one breath, raised his knees and stood up. He faced the bay and opened his arms. After stretching, I faced the night view and evening breeze and enjoyed the remaining coolness of the night. Aling. Hi. Here, brother. How was the basketball game today? 32 goes into 16. After all, there are many women's basketball teams. With our strength, we will definitely win. In the 5-day sports festival and the finals on the 4th day, Sister Yuki and Liulai are so strong. To be honest, I am confident that I can win the championship. That's good. Brother, just relax and don't be unhappy. I'm really not angry with you. Okay, I know. Now, shall we go back? Go back, though. Raku Sakakihara turned his head and looked at the Honda CBR 400RR parked aside, and Suzu Sakakihara quickly followed suit. I'm drunk. I definitely can't ride my motorcycle back. Aling, please take me. Shall I take you? My driver's license does not allow me to drive a motorcycle with this displacement. And I am not wearing a helmet. Fine. This is illegal, Sakakihara Suzu tried to emphasize. It's a small matter. Anyway, if you get caught, the police will just give you a few words of criticism. You can't drink and drive because it's too dangerous. And Sakakibara looked at her sister with shoulder-length hair and eyes that had a bright light even at night. In all these years, I have never been led by you, Aling. Sakakihara Suzu was stunned for a moment. Brother's words went directly into her heart. Thinking about it carefully, it seems that I was indeed taken away by my brother. Whether it's taking public transportation, whether it's going out to play, whether it's studying, whether it's the bicycle my brother rode when he took me to school in elementary school. It's all my brother who takes me. How about it, Aling, you take me back. Let me sit in your back seat. Asterisk. Honda CBR 400RR is an imitation racing motorcycle. As the name suggests, it is a motorcycle that imitates a racing car. The handlebars are low, the seats are low, and only the rear seat is on the high side. Suzu Sakakihara put on her brother's motorcycle helmet, got on the motorcycle, turned on the car key that had been inserted in advance, and the engine started to roar. Putting it into neutral, Suzu Sakakihara tried to pull the accelerator. The sound of the engine made her face full of novelty. As expected, brother, your car is very exciting to drive. The pedal I drive is like a little sheep. It's just a 400 displacement car, not much bigger. Just hold on tight, I'm taking the seat. Okay. Sakakihara Suzu held the handle with both hands and waited for her brother to sit on the tail seat. Before she could think of more ideas, Sakakihara Raku was behind and took the initiative to hug her waist. Sakakihara Suzu had never been treated like this before, and her expression immediately froze. The body also stiffened. Brother. Brother. Why? You can hug me from behind, But I can't hug you. Dot. 2. But being held like this, how could such a thing have ever happened? Boom. The helmet on Sakakihara Suzu's head was knocked. Hey. Why are you hitting me? Don't think about it. I'm drunk and need a place to lean on. Your back is pretty good. Just concentrate on driving. Need a place to lean on? And isn't this place my own back? Sakakihara Suzu couldn't help but laugh. Now, the elder brother who has taken care of me since childhood has to rely on himself. This mood. Super cool. At this moment, Sakakihara Suzu felt like she was the most useful one among the siblings. There would come a day when she would let her brother rely on her. This surging mood prompted Sakakihara Suzu to tighten the clutch and twist the accelerator. Humph, since you said so, brother. Then, as a reliable sister, I have to meet your request for once. Hold me tight. I don't care if I get rid of you. Slow down, click and feed. Alas. Before Raku Sakakibara could tell her to drive slower, Suzu Sakakihara released the clutch with her left hand, and the motorcycle under her butt suddenly had a surge of momentum, and it ejected instantly. Raku Sakakihara was almost thrown off the tail seat and had to hug the waist of the girl in front of him. Brother. Is my waist too thin? You bastard girl, how could you ask your brother such a question? Hey, hold on tight, bro, let's take off. The wind on the edge of the bay began to howl. 2 rows of street lights extending to the street flashed by one after another amidst the roar of the engine. The lights on the road are a little dim. Sakakihara Raku silently looked at the back of his sister in front of him in the somewhat blurry light and darkness. I have many thoughts, but only emotions remain. I have really grown up. She is no longer the little girl who only cried in front of her in the past. Start to stand on your own and start to think of your own. Most importantly, she also began to no longer need to rely on herself. With her own career and her own achievements. Old brother. The wind noise was a bit loud, and Sakakibara could only hear the outline of her voice. What? Won't you enjoy it? Do you want me to take you for a ride outside? I'll give you a beer to wake you up. Up to you. Well. Sakakihara Suzu had never felt this way before. She wished she could spend more time together like this, so that her brother could hold her in his arms like a little brother. As soon as she heard her brother's response, she immediately drove the motorcycle to other areas. 1 kilometer. 2 kilometers. 8 kilometers. 30 kilometers. Driving all the way from Minato City to Chiyoda, I felt the echo of the night and wind around me. When I got hungry while driving, I told Yuki to go home later, find an ordinary shop, and sit down to eat. It wasn't until 2 o'clock in the night, after finishing a full meal, that the two of them were satisfied and wanted to go back. Sakakibara Raku's mood improved a lot because of her initiative and energy. Where does this come from? Who knows? Raku Sakakihara began to urge, let's go quickly. If you don't sleep too late, the game will be over tomorrow. Oh, okay. I'll be the one to drive this time. Okay, you drive. Hee, brother, please hold on tight, I'm afraid you'll fall. Just drive slower. The two immediately got on the motorcycle, set the navigation on their mobile phones, and started to go home. Brother. What are you doing again? Seriously. I really like taking you like this, it feels so good. I will remember this feeling in the future. I will definitely take you to experience this feeling again. Sakakihara suddenly didn't respond. Brother, remember. I may have a concert in 2 weeks, you must come and see it. Let's talk about it later. I don't care anyway. Also, why are you going out to drink alone today? Are you really unhappy about something? Come on, go home quickly and stop talking. I'm so sleepy. Remember to play well tomorrow. Okay. Asterisk. Early the next morning, it was the third day of the sports festival. Raku Sakakibara went out of his way to watch Suzu and Yuki play basketball. There is actually nothing to say about these games. The opponent is not a match for them at all, but they also have some strength. The game between several players is not as simple as the past 2 days. But there are definitely changes. That is a Ling and Ji Shui. The more they play, the more confident they become, and the more they play, the better they shine. Every time they score a goal, they seem to be filled with light, inspiring all the students present with their sweat mixed with beauty and confidence. And couldn't help but applaud when they tried their best to win the match point. Coupled with Li Yuli's outstanding strength, Tiano's cooperation, and Tian Haikiming's serious attitude on the field, their team entered the most difficult competition in no time. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tiu Lan. Chapter 448. Silence. The early morning sunlight gradually penetrates into the room, casting a dreamy light blue on the walls. How many days and nights in your life have you been like today, lying on the bedside, holding your head in your hands, staring blankly at the dim ceiling above your head at dawn? Sakakibara himself doesn't remember clearly. But he clearly remembers when he stopped looking forward to the arrival of a new day. As a child, my sister and I never have enough to eat. Every day, I have to endure the odor in the old house, the cockroaches crawling in every small gap, and the mice eating the cheapest and cheapest specials. At that time, the housing, food, and clothing were not good. But every day when I wake up, I always have infinite yearning, infinite expectations, and even infinite longing for the future and tomorrow. Tomorrow, it will be better. One day, will make my mother and sister live a happy life. The house is not comfortable to live in, so I will buy it. If the food is not good, I will do it. I don't have enough money anymore. I will make the money for living and studying expenses. Everything I have done, all of this, has one and only one reason: they need me. I am relied on by my family, I am relied on by my family, and I am believed by my family. This strength, this belief that I have to persevere even if I have to work hard since I was a child, is the one who needs me and provides me with warm motivation. However, I don't know when it started. Things are becoming more and more complicated. I began to become tired of coping, began to become unable to cope with it, and began to become unable to return to the past no matter how hard I tried. More people started to need me. I need to be responsible, I need to fill their emotional wounds. When I see their miserable pasts, which are as pitiful as mine in the past, I can't help but feel soft and want to give them some care. Because of this, I increasingly feel that I am powerless in the middle, and various contradictions that are difficult to choose come one after another. And because of the past experiences and emotions between them, it becomes even more difficult to choose. And for this reason, many undeniable mistakes were made. Ahu! Sakakihara closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and got up, dressed and washed as usual. Staring at his almost lifeless face in the mirror, he wanted to try to smile, but it was difficult to force out another smile no matter what. It's hard to like her again. Happy. Sakakibara immediately turned his head and smiled lightly at Amami Yuki, who had just appeared at the bathroom door. Good morning, Yuki, are you up? Well, Tianhai's Higsu nodded lightly. There is a very important game today, and I couldn't sleep very well, so I got up early. Are you confident about today's game? Have. Yeah. That's good. Sakakihara reached out and touched her head again. At the same time, he touched the missing piece of hair on the back of her head. Come here, I'll comb your hair. Tianhai's Higsu glanced at him one more time, and after being quiet for a while, nodded, okay. Sakakibara asked Amami Yuki to stand in front of her, picked up the comb, and gently smoothed her dyed beige hair. Tianhai's Higsu quietly looked at the person behind her who was combing her hair. Are you happy? Unhappy? Why do you and Ling both say that? I just feel in my heart that Le seems to be very tired. Are you tired? It feels like this. Sakakibara went to her room and took out the big white flower he gave her. When he came back, he held her hair and gently clamped the buckle under the white flower between her hair. Why am I tired? Compared to before, I don't have to make breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. You and Ling are also starting to try to wash the clothes by yourself. I should be more relaxed than before. Tianhai's Higsu listened silently, always wanting to try to refute what he said, but could not find anything to refute. Does Lele know what's going on with sister in July recently? I've talked to her a lot recently. I know, Sakakihara's voice sounded smooth. Recently, apart from reading alone and practicing basketball with you, she only has to run to her company every day. It's good, she has her own things to do. Tianhai's Higsu turned back in front of him and raised his head. Sister Kyo doesn't seem to be angry with Le anymore. Do you want me to try to talk to Sister Kyo about Le? Sakakihara put his hand on her shoulder. I know you mean well, but if you tells Higsu, it will only make the relationship between you and her more awkward. This is unnecessary, you know. And after such a long time, Chi Minjio's attitude has become obvious. She has given up and no longer pinned her hopes on me. She has begun to choose to focus on herself, whether it is her interests or career. So there is no need for Yuki to disturb her anymore. Tianhai's Higsu wanted to say something more, and looked at the person in front of her who was still smiling at her. But I have always thought that Le is not as bad as Sister Kyo thinks now. Le has always been very good. I want to help Le try to explain and talk to Le. It's not necessary, Yuki. She has a bad impression of me, which is good. As I said just now, for such an excellent person, if she starts to focus only on herself at this time, her life will be much better than before. Happy. Okay, Raku Sakakihara laughed again. Don't you have an important basketball game today? Did you promise to win the championship? Although it is just a sports festival, for you, this is not a chance to move forward bravely. Does your hard work prove it? Well, it's very important. Do you believe in yourself? Believe. I also believe in Ling, Liuliki Ishin, and the others. That's good. Since you have to work so hard today, how about I make you breakfast? Okay. Thank you, Le. Yeah, you're welcome. Breakfast was just some simple fried eggs, fried bread with butter and warm milk. After eating these for many days, Ling kept saying they were delicious. While eating, she said, the bread fried by my brother is to my liking, and ate until her stomach was completely full. The same is true for Snow. You're so happy eating, how about you cheer more on the field? Come on? I absolutely guarantee that I will try my best 100%. That's good. They were urged to put on their school uniforms and jerseys and go to school. At 10 o'clock this morning, their game will officially start. Raku Sakakihara arrived at the gym ahead of time and joined their team. Yuki, Ling, Tiano, and Amami Nanamajetsu were exchanging information and discussing today's tactics. In Sakakihara Raku's eyes, they get along harmoniously and safely. Are you still free after the Liulai Sports Festival? Lejun. Why are you asking this? Are you going out on a date? Sakakihara closed his eyes and said, that's right. What do you mean? It's just a date. If you ask me to go out, of course I will go. Well, Sakakihara Raku responded, and brought up another question. Recently, Ruri rarely comes to me. Tianhai Yulai was not stupid, and listened carefully to the hidden meaning in his words. Since the relationship between the two was not unfamiliar, she asked directly. Lejun, are you angry because I haven't taken the initiative to stick to you recently? No. I'm definitely angry. No wonder I feel that you have become a lot colder recently. When we first reconciled, you even asked me to kiss you on the lips and so on. No, Sakaki Hararaku still answered, I won't be angry with Liulai. On the contrary, I want to fulfill Liulai's inner wish. Tianhaijuli Liulai's pupils narrowed slightly, and he instantly understood the meaning of his words. Lejun, are you willing to take me there? After all, it is the promise I made to you. After the sports festival, it will be summer vacation. This time period is quite good. Although it will still be some time before you can participate in the competition. Lejun, you have the nerve to say it. Didn't you say before that you would practice piano with me and then go to the piano competition together next year? Has Lejun been practicing recently? Yes, I will practice when I have time. True or false, Tianhaijuli Yulai was happy because it meant that he still remembered what he said to him. Real. Okay. It's settled. After the sports festival, you will take me to England to see Maple Leaf Avenue. The premise is that you win the tournament championship with Zhigzu and the others, then I will only take you there. Completely fine. Tianhaijuli Yulai agreed so happily that 5 minutes later, Tianhai Kaimingyu called him over to get ready to start the game. Sakaki Hara Leto glanced at the 5 people in front of him and retreated to the auditorium. The competition was more lively and exciting than imagined. Amamai Kuruori fought hard to grab the basket, Amamai Yuki and Sakaki Barasuzu took the initiative to attack, Amamai Nanamai reviewed the situation. Even though her physical strength was weaker than others, she was still able to pass the order when she got the ball. Amazing pass. The one that has changed the most is Tianhai's Higsu. She originally liked to stay in the corner and have no sense of presence, but now she has become so dazzling on the field. She is constantly galloping around the court, and even if her opponents are much taller than her, she can still toy with the enemy players with her almost overwhelming speed and smart movements that she has trained hard in recent times. The score went from 40:50 to 53:57, and then got closer and closer. Bell. Okay. She and her teammates echo each other, take care of each other, and pass the ball continuously. With the cooperation of several people and the outstanding performance of Tianhai's Higsu, the score reached 65 points for the opposite team and tied with 65 points for our team, and the situation fell into an anxious state. However, there were only 5 minutes left in the second half, and considering the height difference between the two sides, there was little hope of tying the score. Bell. Amamai Kuriyuri grabbed the rebound and quickly passed the ball to Sakaki Hara Suzu, who was in the best position. Suzu Sakaki Hara holds the ball and drives the ball toward the opponent's basket with sweat dripping from her back. However, the opponent's defense was too fast, and the game was too long, and she was exhausted. Before she could take 2 more steps, the opponent's center suddenly snatched the ball from her hands, and a few seconds later, she ran in inside the 3-point line of his own basket. It's all over. The opponent's center is the tallest player. With his height and strength, if he wants to stop him, he must let Tianhaijuli Yulai play. But this is impossible now, because Tianhaijuli Yulai has been restricted by the opponent's 2 players. Passing the ball rashly will give the other party a chance. Considering the above conditions, the hope of reversing the situation is already slim. However, just when she was thinking this, her eyes lit up when Sakaichi Diano suddenly appeared. She jumped hard, almost losing her balance in the air. Sakaichi Diano used her fingertips to force the opponent's ball to change slightly when it was thrown. The trajectory was changed. Under everyone's gaze, the ball spun slowly around the basket and then fell straight down. Good chance. Everyone in the team suddenly had the same idea in their minds. Tianhaijuli Yulai was the first to react. She struggled to break through the two people's defense. Under the blocking of the two, she jumped with all her strength, got ahead of the opponent's center, and swatted the basketball to the left. July. Sister July. Of course, the opponent will not sit still and change direction to defend the moment the ball flies out. Tianhai Kaimingyu heard the two people's voices and immediately ran. The moment the opponent was about to touch the ball, he shot the ball away from the three-point line. Tianhai's Higsu caught the ball steadily outside the midfield. She gathered all her strength and ran quickly on the court like a bolt of lightning, carrying the ball straight to the opponent's basket with precise dribbling and unstoppable momentum. 1, 2, 3. The opponent's defense was constantly breached. When he reached the enemy's center, Tianhai's Higsu suddenly made a disguised movement, and the ball passed under the opponent's thigh. When the enemy center was stunned, she accelerated her sprint, passing through the opponent's double team like lightning, and reached the three-point line. Yuki. Tianhai's Higsu suddenly stopped, holding the basketball in both hands, and then she jumped high. The ball fell out of her hands. The beautiful trajectory is indescribable and indescribable. The basketball leaping upward was surrounded by several pairs of hands leaping up at the same time, but it could never reach the end point of the arc. With only 3 minutes left in the second half, Tianhai's Higsu officially won the match point under the attention of the entire audience. That awe-inspiring leap seemed to take her straight past her past self, forever striving toward the distant shore with no end in sight. Yuki. 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 Not only the class cheerleading team organized by Fujino, but also the seniors and seniors from other classes and grades were all shouting her name spontaneously. Awesome! Yuki. Sakaki Harasuzu excitedly rushed over and hugged her, screaming. A perfect goal. Tianhai Kaimingyu said something while sweating profusely after getting closer. Awesome, Tianhaijuli Yulai smiled happily. Yuki-chan. That's amazing, Kishano Sakai said with a happy face. Several people, soaked in sweat, gathered around and crowded together. Raku Sakakibara couldn't help but smile slightly when he saw Amamai Yuki, who was surrounded and praised by everyone in the auditorium, and smiled from the bottom of his heart. This is real growth. It seems that only this time, Xiao Li, you can smile from the bottom of your heart. Tianhaiza stood in the same row with him, folding his chest with one hand and looking at his side face. Very happy. Ah, I'm glad. Xiao Li, you are obviously stronger. If you win the game, more people will praise you. Why do I feel that you are not as happy as you are now? Auntie, you need to know that for me, the happiest thing is not what I have gained. It is that the people around me have changed in ways that have never happened before. In this change, the other person gains joy and new life. Tianhaiza looked at her younger sister, who was surrounded by everyone in the arena, and looked happy, but, isn't it because Xiao Leoki can perform well because of her own efforts? Yes. It is only because of her own efforts that she can achieve such outstanding results today. My influence is actually minimal. Tianhaiza felt even more strange. Then why do you look so happy, Xiao? Because she started to have her own way, and she understood that the joy did not only come from me, she also experienced the beauty of life in other places, making her feel more important. She began to learn to grow on her own. There was constant applause in the gym, but Amamai Azusa stared at Sakakibara Raku's focused side face and fell into deeper thinking. She recalled what Ruri, Kyo, and Suzu had said to her about Sakakibara Raku. Like, I observed something. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tio Yu Lan. Chapter 449. Thousands of meters in the air. Huge airplanes shuttled between the clouds and swooped down. After a 12-hour flight, we are about to land at Heathrow Airport, thousands of kilometers away from Tokyo. Looking down from the cabin window, the grassland, runway, and terminal building of the airport are gradually visible, and even the figures of the ground staff are becoming clearer. After the plane landed, the lights in the cabin gradually brightened, soothing music came from the loudspeaker, the flight attendants opened the curtains and walked out of the lounge, and the passengers in the seats gradually woke up from their sleep. Tianhaijuli Yulai, who was sitting quietly at position 14B, moved the dial on her wrist backwards for 8 hours. The dial has officially reached London time, July 15, Saturday, 5 o'clock in the morning. She turned her head and saw Raku Sakakihara sleeping next to her. The day after the sports festival, Saturday, July 15, at 1 o'clock in the evening, the plane to the UK officially took off. Lejun's invitation was actually a bit sudden. First, the temperature in the UK tends to be mild, and the red beauty of maple leaves cannot be appreciated until September to November in autumn. If you come here now, you can probably only see Greenleaf Avenue. Second, coming to the UK at this time, there is no competition to talk about. Even Jalaya Ling and the others did not come with them. Even though Amamai Kuruori was happy to be alone with Sakakibara Raku for such a long time, without everyone's presence, she still felt that something was missing around her. A succession of message bubbles. Tianhaijuli Yulai picked up her phone and saw several messages from a user with a selfie of a girl with scissor hands. It seemed like the plane had no network in the sky and received a lot of calls immediately after landing. Is Sister Li Yulai here? You must take good care of my brother. I always feel like something is wrong with him recently, but when we are alone together, he is very normal, and I'm quite unhappy that I can't accompany you to England this time. After all, I always feel like you've abandoned me. The expression of the rabbit crossing its chest and stamping its feet in anger. But there is really no way. I have to rehearse for the next concert and I really can't find the time. Last time I practiced basketball with everyone, it took up a lot of my time, and I didn't learn much in my subsequent studies, but, hey, now the final results are out, and my brother's test questions are really useful. I am directly ranked in the grade 14th, he's much taller than Yuki. I'm really happy about this. Yuki has become much more cheerful than before, and she seems to be back to the past, so, we want to ask Sister Liulai to occasionally buy him some small gifts, snacks, etc. when she is in the UK. My brother, since he was a child, no one except me would give him gifts because he used to be the kind of nerd who only immersed himself in studying, occasionally went out for a run, and was just a little handsome. When Sister Liulai comes back, I will personally make a cake to give to Sister Liulai to express my gratitude. Sister Liulai, don't dislike it. That must be the first time I successfully made a finished cake. If my brother hadn't been reluctant to cook recently and insisted on me learning to make it myself, I wouldn't have made it. Rabbit with arms crossed and head raised confidently. The news is gone here. The last message was at 3:30 a.m. Tokyo time. Tianhaijuli Yulai smiled after reading these messages. She could tell that Ling would feel particularly uncomfortable with Lejun leaving her side. That's why I sent myself a message in the middle of the night to express my concern. Okay. Replying with a small emoticon, Tianhaijuli Yulai put away the phone. At the same time, she also discovered that Raku Sakakihara was already awake at this time. He was facing the narrow oval window of the plane, observing London at 5 in the morning, without saying anything. Lejun, what are you thinking about? You keep looking outside. It's nothing, Sakakibara looked away. I just feel that except for the increase in English and the different people, this airport doesn't look much different. After all, they are all modern facilities. In fact, if you go to major urban centers in China, you will know that many shops and many decoration styles are not much different. Yes, Raku Sakakihara smiled as he faced Amamai Kuruori's lovely face that looked very gentle. Well, this time we also ran out secretly. We didn't have much time and we had enough sleep, so we just went. How about going to the place you most want to visit? Don't want. I don't want to. Of course I have to save the best for last. How can I go there first? Yeah, that's right. Then I'll just listen to Liuli during this short trip. How about that? Listen to me the whole time. Liuli hesitated for 2 seconds, blinked, and then immediately laughed. Of course. There is nothing urgent about this trip, so the schedule is not very long. According to the arrangement along the way, it will take about 3 or 4 days to cover all the places you want to go. They had already slept enough on the plane, so after they got off the plane, they were ready to leave without stopping. Tianhaiju really spent a long time tinkering on her mobile phone but couldn't register a local taxi app, so she could only walk out of the airport with Sakakibara Raku carrying her suitcase. After twists and turns, it took a lot of effort to find a place where I could take a taxi. Tianhaiju was pulling her suitcase, wearing a dress and a summer sun hat, her eyes full of curiosity. British taxis are black, so old-fashioned, like a big black box. Why are they black? Sakakihara stood on the roadside with her, holding the suitcase in his hand, and looked with her at the black taxi approaching from a distance. Luli, do you remember the black carriage that you often see in movies and TV shows? Ah, I have an impression. I have seen it in many works. In the middle of the 17th century, box carriages were popular throughout the UK. The most striking feature was their black color. Not only was the body black, but even the driver had to wear a black suit and even a black top hat. Later, class differentiation appeared in the carriages, and more as the Industrial Revolution was gradually replaced by the internal combustion engine. What remains unchanged is the black paint used on various passenger cars. That's it. Tianhaiju nodded, even more curious, how does Lejun know this? Sakakihara replied, last time, it was 3 months ago anyway. I can't remember the day. Nanamijiu insisted on dragging me to watch a vampire movie. I asked her and she introduced it to me. No wonder it smells like July is introducing. As Tianhaiju spoke, he reached out to hail a taxi on the side of the road, but unexpectedly did not continue the topic. Arriving at the hotel booked in advance, Sakakibara Raku simply packed up and was about to leave, but Amamikuruuri didn't come out. In fact, this psychology is also easy to understand. Liuli regarded this trip not only as a simple trip, but also as a travel date in a world where only 2 people could live together. Dong. Dong dong. The movement of high heels stopped after a knock on the door. Sakakibara raised his head, and time seemed to stop. She wears a cool white dress with delicate light blue and indigo trimmings on the edge, making the color bright and lively. A lightweight belt is tied around the waist, matching the skirt to highlight the slender waist. Her long flaxen hair was styled into a wheat-ear-style princess braid on the side, neat and clean, revealing her slender neck. In addition, I don't know whether she put on lipstick or lip balm, but she looked very natural. When she smiled faintly at herself, there seemed to be a light sweetness in her heart. Coupled with her already tall height. What a beautiful big girl. Why are you staring at me like that? Tianhaiju shy smile and her coy voice like a little girl made her more real. It's hard to say. Sakakihara picked up his chin and looked at it carefully. What can't be said? No, doesn't it look good? I spent more than half an hour dressing up. I mean, Liuli, you dress up so maturely, but you still blush like a little girl who has just fallen in love. Such a gesture is very subtle and difficult to evaluate. If you want to praise someone, just say it. Sakakihara Raku did not answer her words, but because she was so beautifully dressed, he couldn't help but look at her for a long time. Tianhaiju noticed his eyes that suddenly stopped in place. Are you stunned? Lejun. Raku Sakakihara suddenly shook his head. It's nothing, I just think it's impressive that Liuli spends so much energy on dressing up just when you go out. Moved. Happy. Happiness is happiness. but it's more of a different mood. Sakakibara couldn't describe it. He just looked at Liuli's eyes and looked at the face that was exactly the same as Kyo's, and he always thought of the compromises she had made to take care of herself again and again. To this day, she still has a clear scar on her stomach. And when he told them that he was responsible for Zhigsu a while ago, Liuli was basically not angry with him. It was as if she was determined to follow him, following him firmly. Amamikuruori suddenly came to Sakakibara Raku's side, put his hands behind his back, slightly bent down, looked at him sideways, and said with a smile. "Since Lejun can't say it, why don't you say it? We are here for our honeymoon. Before, I never thought I would have a boy I like so much. I think he is super hardworking and super nice to people. I never thought that one day he would appear in front of me, like a savior, pulling me out of the quagmire, and then giving me infinite care and infinite strength after making mistakes." Sakakibara Raku didn't know how to reply to Amamikuruori's comments about him. Maybe that was true for my past self. I will try to forgive her as much as possible, I will try to understand her experience as much as possible, I will try to understand her weaknesses and the real reasons why she made mistakes. But will this repair the wound on her stomach? Obviously it can't be done. Lejun? Why are you always in a daze lately? I'm thinking about something, Sakakibara replied, putting his hands in his pockets. Besides, before setting off, Ruri, what do you think of me now? How's it going? Lejun, do you want to hear the truth or a lie? Lie. That means everything is fine with Lejun and nothing has changed. What's the truth? Lejun, I have become less like Lejun in many cases. Those words you said to Kyo. I also think that they are not words you can say to Lejun at all. No matter how you look at it, from you and Kyo judging from the past, it is extremely irrational. Really? But, Liuli, those are indeed what I said. Lejun really thinks that. I'm tired, Liuli. Now I don't want to worry about taking care of someone's feelings. For you, this actually goes against your original intention of liking me. Isn't it that what you like is to take care of the people around you? Me. And now, I have changed. This is why you feel disobedient to me. Tianhaijuli Yuli stood there, trying to understand what he said. But no matter how you understand it, between the lines of his words, you can always draw only one conclusion: I am no longer the me you like. Lejun, what does this sentence mean? Literal meaning. I think it's Lejun who is joking. No kidding. Lejun, didn't you bring me to England? Well, because I want to know, Liuli, what kind of choice you will have for me after understanding this. Tianhaijuli Yuli was silent. The biggest reason is because she doesn't know how to answer Sakakibara Raku's words. As he said, he has changed. He is no longer the Lejun who used to take good care of others and always take care of them unconditionally. His smiles recently have become less and more forced. You can see it yourself. Because of this, what kind of choice should I make about him? Amamikuruori didn't answer, or he didn't want to understand the answer, but after a long silence, he was driven out of the hotel by Sakakibara Raku's words, let's go and see London together. Asterisk. Take a taxi and arrive at the first stop of your journey to the UK, the British Museum. As one of the 4 major museums in the world, Tianhaijuli Yuli is a bit disappointed. There is no majestic square in front of the main entrance, and it is not even on a wide enough street. The exterior of the museum is an all too familiar Greek architectural style. The classical design makes it overly simplified and far from the shocking details brought by Baroque and Gothic architecture. The cultural relics inside are still so diverse that they are novel and shocking. However, the two of them did not have any communication during this period. They were just like passers-by in life, passing through rare and historic sites that have been passed down for thousands of years. Second stop, Buckingham Palace. We arrived at Buckingham Palace at 11:20 noon. Even at noon, the place was already crowded with tourists who came to watch the changing of the guard ceremony. Many tourists took advantage of the situation early and would rather stand and wait for 2 or 3 hours to catch a glimpse of the royal style. Before the ceremony began, the female royal cavalry riding a white horse maintained order in front of Buckingham Palace. 10 minutes later, royal soldiers wearing red military uniforms and bearskin hats walked from the park on the left towards Buckingham Palace. The neat procession was led by drummers. Walk along the left side of the square to the main entrance of the palace, and complete the changing of the guard ceremony in Buckingham Palace. The process was very heroic and attractive, but the two of them only exchanged a few simple sentences. The third stop, Oxford University, the fourth stop, Tower Bridge, London, both of them hurriedly passed by like strangers. It wasn't until late at night that Tianhaijuli said what he had been holding back all day at the door of the hotel. I don't care if you have changed, Lejun. I just like you. I've been exposed to you all my life, and it's all up to you. I don't care about your opinion, Lejun, even if you things have changed. Even if you don't agree, I will still insist on my choice, to stay with you. The evening breeze in the UK seems to be no different from that in Tokyo. It's even colder. Sakakihara heard her calling him from behind and did not look back, but in his heart he understood the difference between her and the past because of her words. In the past, Liuli would probably only compromise and long for things, but she didn't dare to tell herself what she wanted most and ask for it, right? So much so that when she was at her most desperate, she just pointed the knife at herself. But now, she has been able to express all the things she wants and her own thoughts to herself. Isn't this a sign that Liuli has grown up? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Buletin 11 Huan Tio Yu Lan. Chapter 451. Chapter 446. This is the first time Tianhaijuli wants to take the initiative. I don't care if you have changed, Lejun. I just like you. I've been exposed to you all my life, and it's all up to you. I don't care about your opinion, Lejun, even if you things have changed. Even if you don't agree, I will still insist on my choice, to stay with you. After shouting this sentence, the two stood quietly at the door of the hotel for a long time. Tianhaijuli looked stubborn. She was a little confused about the recent Sakakihara raku, and she was a little confused about his mood at this time. But since she was caught in the middle, she became more understanding of his dilemma between herself and Kyo. Taking care of one party will hurt the other party, and committing to one party will make the other party feel uncomfortable. However, because of past experiences, we can't let go of both of them. I'm glad Ruri said that. Sakakihara suddenly laughed. Tianhaijuli expression softened instantly. After a pause, she asked him carefully, really? Of course. Sakakibara immediately walked over to her, stood next to the beautifully dressed girl, and smiled at her again. Recently, you, Suzu, and Zayuki have all said that I am not very happy. This is your own fault. Feeling something, right? Yet Tianhaijuli nodded lightly in response. Sakakihara sighed again, I actually don't want to be like this. Liuli, you have also seen my recent changes. I was really tired before, and I seem to be completely dependent on you. So, even if I plan to make changes afterwards, I will still feel this way. Is this why Lejun feels so strange lately? Well, Raku Sakakihara agreed, and then explained, look what I've been doing recently. I've been asking Suzu and Yuki to learn to do things by themselves, just because I feel too tired. Tianhaijuli Yulai opened her mouth, hesitated for a moment, and then answered, no wonder Ling always told me recently, Lejun, you don't cook anymore, and Zhigsu started to imitate her to wash her own clothes, so that's why. That's it? Although they are very talented, powerful, and wealthy, they will definitely be able to gain a foothold in society in the future. But these external things alone are not enough. They need to learn to be independent on their own and grow up to become more mature in life. Being able to stand alone and no longer need to rely on me. In this way, Lejun's recent behavior can also be explained. He treats everyone indifferently and has different attitudes. He wants everyone to be independent, so that Lejun himself can feel much more relaxed. I am in a bad mood because I am still tired from the previous quarrel with Kyo. In order not to make everyone worry and not to let everyone take more care of him, he pretended to be normal. Thinking of this, Tianhaijuli Yulai suddenly felt enlightened. She stared at the man standing in front of the hotel door, then pursed her lips, clenched her fists and gave him. Really? It was in vain that I was worried all day long. It turned out that nothing happened to Lejun. So, Lejun's appearance today was also disguised to show me. In order to understand how I feel about Lejun now. Idea. Of course, Sakakibara smiled at her again, otherwise, what else could it be? Hit you. You're really bad. Don't hit me. It's not good to be seen by others. Do you know that you are dressed like a noble lady now, and you have that noble smell all over your body? What noble lady, I'll beat you to death. When she thought that she had been depressed all day, didn't go on a good trip, and didn't make a good date, Tianhaijuli Yulai became so angry that she chased and beat him around the fountain in front of the hotel. Because he was wearing high heels, he couldn't run fast and it was very troublesome to run, so he stopped after only 2 laps. Seeing that he was still making faces at her and teasing her with a smile, Tianhaijuli Yulai became even more angry. She didn't want to maintain the restraint of a young lady outside, so she took off her high heels and threw them at him. Passed. But he caught it with both hands and looked at it from side to side. Noticing that he was looking towards her, Tianhaijuli Yulai realized something was wrong and stretched out her hand. Hey! Give me back quickly. Not return. No, don't you want to pay it back? Tianhaijuli Yulai staggered 2 steps at a time, stood on 1 foot, forced out a smile, and held his hand on the small telephone pole unique to the British Road. Lelajun, what are you doing? Why are you still acting like a child? Come back soon. Give it to me and I promise not to hit you. Sakakihara held her shoes behind her, shook her head, and said helplessly. How could Liulai talk like that? If you throw your shoes at me, wouldn't you be considered a child? It's not like Lejun has to escape. You hit me and I can't run away? Really, who is the kid? Forget it, I'll leave it to you. Sakakihara sighed and moved closer to her, reaching out to return the high heels to her. Then forgive you, dash. But when Tianhaijuli Yulai reached out to take it, he quickly withdrew his hand and slipped further away. Tianhaijuli Yulai's pupils dilated in disbelief. There are many local British people passing by the hotel looking here. Sakakihara Raku. T. Tenkai Kurayuri, Sakakihara Raku imitated Tenkai Kurayuri's angry voice from a distance. You. This kind of joke can only be made once. If it continues, people will get really angry. So Sakakibara took the shoes away and gave them back to Amamai Kurayuri within 10 seconds. This time it was indeed handed to her hand. Tianhaijuli Yulai looked at him dissatisfied, both angry and funny. Okay, it's just a joke. Are you angry? If you're angry, come and kiss me. I'll make sure your anger goes away. Tianhaijuli Yulai was happy and annoyed at the same time. He was happy because it was fun to joke with him, but he was annoyed because he went too far with his jokes. She punched him in the chest again. This time Sakaki Hararaku didn't hide, but took it forcefully. Then another punch. Sakaki Hararaku continued to hold on, as if nothing was wrong. After the third punch, Amami Juri frowned in dissatisfaction until Sakakibara took the initiative to put his hand on her back and pat her lightly. Okay, I know Liulai is a good wife and won't be really angry. Who is a good wife? I'm not married yet. His tone was a bit stubborn. That's a good girlfriend. Now she's a good girlfriend. She can cook, be considerate, do housework, help you tidy up your clothes when you go out, and say welcome home to you when you come back. She is very, very beautiful, and she also likes to come to you occasionally at night to act coquettishly and talk about her true feelings. Liulai, tell me, who wouldn't like a girlfriend like this? That's pretty much it. Seeing his smiling face, Tianhaijuli Yulai turned her face slightly in a different direction, tucked a few strands of messy hair behind her ears, and responded in a low voice. Sakakibara approached her and said next to her rosy little ears with her hair parted, Xiao Liulai is praised. Are you happy? That's not possible. Tianhaijuli Yulai pushed him away shyly, her sky blue eyes slightly raised, and after seeing his same smiling face as before, she hurriedly put the high heels on her feet again. After dressing up, when I looked at him standing under the streetlight, I felt that this guy was really cunning. She was obviously still angry with him just now, but after a few words, she completely lost her anger. On the contrary, I feel that if he praises me, I will be very happy. Well, obviously when others compliment you on your beauty, you have no such mental activity at all. Come over. What to do? Sakakibara asked. Just come over here. Tianhaijuli Yulai frowned. This expression didn't look right at first glance. Sakakibara was prepared to be punched by her a few more times to vent his anger. What he didn't expect was that after getting closer, Amami Juriuri stood up on tiptoes and kissed him on the cheek. Sakakihara was stunned at first, and then his smile faded. After Tianhaijuli Yulai saw his expression, he said, "Don't like it?" Sakakihara laughed again, faced her and replied, "How could it be? It just feels a bit sudden." "What does this kiss mean?" "I don't mean to be angry with you. Also, I think you are very good." Lejun said that he has changed, but for me, Lejun has not changed much, right? Lejun is tired now and doesn't want to cook. Cooking, this is good. I used to feel that all 3 meals at home were taken care of by Lejun, and I couldn't do much to help. Instead, I felt like I was useless. Tianhaijuli Yulai stared at him silently, his face reflected in his pupils. And everyone seems to think that Lejun makes 3 meals a day and does housework every day as normal and doesn't care. They don't really understand that Lejun gets up at around 5 o'clock every morning and starts to help everyone prepare 3 meals and lunch. Hard work. These things. These Lejun's contributions to everyone are not false emotions. Now in July, I should only see the bad side of you, Lejun, and completely forget about the kindness that Lejun has to everyone. But I won't do that. Yes, Lejun. A long time ago, I saw a sentence in my grandpa's room, "A drop of kindness is repaid by a spring." I don't want to ask too much or demand too much from Lejun anymore. This kind of feeling is heavy. I just hope that Lejun can take my feelings seriously. As for the reason, it's very simple. I was saved because of Lejun's kindness and letting go of his prejudices. After being saved, why should I ask for so much more? The howling of the night wind blowing on the street became clear again. The surroundings were so quiet that even the sound of running water from the fountain nearby could be clearly heard. Amami Kuruuri was still looking at Sakakibara Raku. When I said this to him, I didn't mean to encourage him or support him. I just followed my heart and wanted to say this to him, which I had been thinking about for a long time recently. In the end, it was Sakakihara Raku who smiled first and spoke. "Really, in the middle of the night, why are you saying these words that are like confession? Li Yulai has been with me for a whole day and you are not tired yet? Aren't you very tired from just visiting the museum? Sakakihara came to her side again and patted her slender back. Okay, okay, let's go. Let's go back to the hotel. It's not the first time we've been in love, and we're saying these words. It gives me goosebumps when others hear me. Tianhaijuli Yulai pursed his lips. This is in England. Not many people understand Japanese. Okay, okay, let's go back to the hotel and take a shower. We have a schedule tomorrow. Did Lejun listen carefully just now? Could it be that you were distracted? I was obviously so serious. Listening. It's so perfunctory, but it's not true at first glance. Go back to the hotel, go back to the hotel. Lejun. Answer me seriously. Haha, let's go back to the hotel. Asterisk. Although Sakakibara Raku has tried his best to lighten the atmosphere and make it less affectionate, he still can't resist the fact that Amami Kuruori is a girl. Girls are easy to be emotional. After returning to the hotel, Sakakihara noticed that the way she looked at him was different. Sakakihara stopped in front of the bathroom door with a change of clothes. The door to the bathroom was blocked by Tianhaijuli Yulai's hand, and she had no chance to close it. What? Don't you understand? Tianhaijuli Yulai's voice was softer than usual, but his face was not as shy as usual. Sakakibara swept his face over her cute face under her princess braided hair and asked, "Want to wash together?" "What else?" "Help me wash up." "Wash it for me." The voice was slightly raised. Sakakibara held the clothes and blinked. "Do you want to kiss again?" There was another silence. Then she turned her face away, and while still reaching out to block the door, she nodded slightly. "Yeah. Don't want." "Okay, let's do it together now." "What?" No. Otherwise. Let Li Yulai come in and take advantage of me." "Take advantage of you?" Seeing Sakakibara Raku's guarded and extremely reluctant look, Amami Kuruori blushed instantly, red with anger. "Then I don't care about your opinion. We have to wash it together." Tianhaijuli Yulai opened the door, blushing, grabbed his arm and pulled him directly into the bathroom. Even though Sakakihara Raku was ready to leave early, she dragged him back to the bathroom. She also stripped him naked, leaving only a pair of underwear. Tianhaijuli Yulai was more reserved when she took off her clothes. She turned her back to him, and occasionally looked back to glare at him to warn him not to slip out. After she took off her underwear, she still put her hands in front of her, looking stubborn and not wanting to show it to anyone. "Let me help you first." Sakakihara Raku had no right to speak, so she immediately pulled her to sit on the small wooden table in the bathroom. She washed her hair and rubbed her back, and she almost finished washing her hair. Of course, there were some places Li Yulai still didn't dare to touch, even though she was furious. "No more washing." "Scared? Who's afraid of you? I've seen it all before." Tianhaijuli Yulai was really energetic tonight. She was not afraid of anything anymore, just relying on her energy of anger. Of course, she also had an energy of anger when she was about to wash. As soon as he saw that she was really going to hit her, Sakakibara immediately protected himself and turned his legs to the other side. Don't. Are you scared?" This time it was Tianhaijuli Yulai's turn, and his expression was obviously still angry. "It's not that I'm afraid. You're very strong. I'm afraid you'll have to wash it for me later so I won't be able to use it anymore. You'll be pulling and tugging. I'm just scared. Then just think I'm afraid. Let me wash it." No. Let me wash it quickly." "Don't, I'm scared. It was a joke outside the bathroom, but it wasn't until after the two of them took a shower that Raku Sakakihara finally coaxed her with words on the big bed in the hotel. It's true that Lejun likes to joke recently. Lee Yulai is very cute once she stops being angry and becomes shy. Set off by the already ambiguous lighting of the hotel, this cuteness is even more beautiful. Okay, go to sleep. It was my fault. I will buy you ice cream when I go out tomorrow. That's fine. He said he was sleeping, but Tianhaijuli Yulai tried to squint for half an hour, but still couldn't fall asleep. I don't know if it's because I haven't gotten into his bed for so long. He always thinks about messy things around him. Amamai Kuruori was lying on the pillow. When he opened his eyes, he saw Sakakibara Raku holding his head and looking up at the ceiling. Lejun. Haven't you slept? No. What are you thinking about? I'm thinking a lot. He answered very seriously and had no intention of taking the initiative to continue. Sakakibara Raku suddenly lost his joking energy, and Amamai Kurayuri didn't feel comfortable with it. In addition, he had changed too much in the recent period, and he was inevitably worried. Thinking about July. July? No, I don't miss her. What do you think of Kyo? Kyo, don't talk about her. Isn't it good for her to be alone now? She can be independent and have her own goals. She doesn't need to focus on me anymore. Isn't it good? She is a very good person and doesn't need to be there at all. As long as she relies on me, she can live well on her own. Have you ever thought, Lejun, that maybe she doesn't think so in Kyo? Her? Maybe, but she has already undergone her own transformation, hasn't she? Sakakibara stared at the ceiling. Now I basically see her either reading a book after school or on her way to the company. She doesn't have so many emotional problems, and she won't be so hurt by someone anymore. It seems that Lejun knows that he is wrong. Wrong? It depends on which angle you look at it. From Julai's point of view, I was indeed wrong. But from my point of view, well, it can be considered a mistake, but now everyone's relationship is far from what it was just in Hawaii. The end of the period. Who is right and who is wrong? I am angry with July because July has denied my persistence as a human being. Sakakibara closed his eyes and paused for a moment. Luli, Chi-Chi was saved because of my compassion when she was a child. Now there is someone in the same situation as her who wants less than she does. Doesn't this mean that she doesn't want herself to be saved? She said that she has already. I'm tired of my comparing one's feelings with one's own, but if I didn't compare one's feelings with others, would I have chosen the July that was closer to my childhood? I can't accept Kyo's denial of me. I can't accept Kyo's denial of herself and gain hope as a result. Sakakibara Raku's words obviously caused Amamai Kuruori to fall into long thoughts and remain silent for a long time. Lejun. How? How does Lejun treat Yuki, and how will he treat her in the future? Didn't I tell you that the relationship between Yuki and me is not equal to mine now? She likes me, and my liking for her is not that kind of liking. She can like me, and I can keep her by my side to take care of her. Of course. Well, it will never develop into the same relationship as Li Yulai. Similar to Ailing. Ailing? Sooner or later, Ailing will have to live on her own. Although she also said that she will most likely move next door to us if she doesn't get married. She is indeed very similar to Zhigzhu. Tianhaijuli Yulai nodded, I understand. It seems that Lejun still understands. It's not true, to be clear. No matter what, if you promise a girl to stay with you forever, it will make everyone feel uncomfortable. This is my fault, there is no doubt about it. It is right for Kyo to be angry, and it is also right for me to apologize. I just said I have said that what I cannot accept is that she denies herself and my life. After that, there was another long period of silence. In the silence, Sakakihara Raku felt that Tianhaiju really might want to cling to him and kept approaching him. Lejun, do you still remember your promise to me? Why don't we take you to see Maple Leaf Avenue? Although it is very likely that it will be Greenleaf Avenue tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Isn't that why we are here? Well, that's right, so. Seeing Tianhaiju really turn over and sit up, even sitting on his lap, Sakakihara Raku probably guessed what she meant and said with a smile. Not interested in. So serious. Why are you not interested? Luli is not ready yet. Tianhaiju Yulai was puzzled. Lejun, didn't you say that you are also a scumbag? Why don't you want to? Sakakibara let her lie back on his pillow and continued to look at the ceiling. If I were really the kind of scumbag who does whatever he wants, I would have pushed Zyuki away a long time ago and I would have been arguing with you. At that time, I went to find other women. I want to be cool and unrestrained, but I am not so cool at all. I have my own direction. Unexpectedly, Amamai Kuriyuri sat up again and sat directly on Sakakibara Raku's belly. She was wearing loose shorts that she wore to bed at night, with her big white legs extending on both sides of her belly. Luli, don't even think about using stronger ones. You really can't match mine in terms of strength. Lejun. You really don't want it? In no mood. I think Lejun didn't agree, not only because I wasn't ready but also because Lejun had other ideas. What was Lejun thinking now and just now? Sakakihara turned his head away, not wanting to look into her eyes. I don't want to say it. Tianhaiju Yulai didn't bother and smiled. Okay, how about we change the topic? Go on, let's go to bed now. Talk about July. What are you still talking about her? It's boring. What needs to be said has been said long ago. Tianhaiju Yulai lay beside him gently, smiling gently. Lejun said before that when you look at me, you will always think of Kyo, and when you see Kyo, you will also think of me. After all, you are twin sisters. If you say you are July now, it is not impossible. But that would make people very unhappy. No way, you are twins. But I don't like it. Lejun, look at it now. What are you looking at? Amamai Kuriyuri took Sakakibara Raku's hand and asked him to look at his smiling face. Who does Raku-kun think I am? Is there still a shadow of July? Listen to the truth. Of course, who would listen to lies? Ruri Sakakihara looked at her face seriously, but there is indeed a shadow of July. Tianhaiju Yulai smiled and stretched out her hand to twist his waist. Then, the moment his face twitched, his expression became as calm as water. What about now? About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tio Yu Lan. Chapter 452. What about now? Raku Sakakihara, who was straddling him, stared straight at her beautiful face and her calm eyes as clear as the blue sky. July. Wrong. July shouldn't be here. If July is here, it means that the one who flew with him has always been July. It was also July when I came to the UK and said I wanted to visit Maple Leaf Avenue, take care of myself, and accompany myself to sightseeing spots in London. The fundamental problem is not her appearance, but all the behavior of Tianhaiju Yulai during this day. If Chi-Chi could even imitate these things so that he could not see the flaws, then it would be too exaggerated. Amamai Kuriyuri seemed to see through Sakakibara Raku's thoughts through his eyes. She stretched out her hands and placed them on both sides of his head. She leaned over and looked directly at him, still maintaining her unwavering expression. Brother, did you forget so quickly? Or is it because you have a bad memory to begin with? I remember you said it before, if I seriously pretend to be my sister, even my father won't be able to tell the difference between us. Sakakihara did not take the initiative to speak, but just looked back into her eyes. I actually said this in July, a long time ago. That being said, How can I be sure it's not Li Yulai who is pretending to be Kyo? Tianhaijuli Yulai smiled again. Lejun is a little smarter and started to use my words to question me. Well, indeed, if something cannot be judged, asking the person who asked the question is also a way. Yes, maybe I am Li Yulai, and I am deliberately testing Lejun whether you recognize me. Sakeki Hararaku was a little confused. She spoke in Li Yulai's tone, but the content was what only Li Yulai could say to herself. Just like the interaction she had with him at the hotel door just now. I still don't believe you are July. Don't believe it? Lejun, what's the basis? Facts always need some basis, right? Actions, words, tone of voice, micro-expressions. Lejun, these can actually be disguised. Tianhaijuli Yulai replied, deliberately lowering his voice and dodging his eyes. Why doesn't Lejun accept the reality? Sakeki Hara closed his eyes and admitted that he couldn't tell whether the person in front of him was Ruri or Kyo. If he had been at the hotel door just now, he would have immediately identified it as Li Yulai. That kind of shy, timid, a little angry, but not really angry character cannot be faked. If Chi-Chi can really disguise it, Sakakibara Raku can only admit that this is the brilliance of their twins. However, it is not without methods of falsification. Sakakibara turned over hard and pressed Tianhaijuli onto the hotel bed. Her head was resting on the pillow, her hands were released outwards, facing upwards, and her two pairs of white thighs, wearing only a pair of shorts, were tightly closed inwards. Her expression at this time was the same faceless look she usually had in July. The tone was also cold and cold. Are you angry? Are you going to use violence against me? I think you are thinking too much. Sakeki Hara stared straight into her eyes, put his hand on her waist, and then lifted up the thin pajamas she was wearing to look at it. He saw. The white belly is pure and white. Really? It's July. Sakeki Hara turned his eyes back at once, leaned over, and faced each other. He couldn't help but increase the strength of his hands to suppress her. He frowned and asked. When? Where's Scar? Tear it off after taking a shower. It's uncomfortable to wear. Why, you don't welcome me? I don't know who wanted to take care of me just now, and kept saying nice things to me. Obviously, very unwelcoming. Tianhaikiming ignored his answer. Even though he was pressed under him, he still had that expressionless face. You talk with a straight face and you still work so hard. Aren't you tired? Sakeki Hararaku only found it funny. Compared with this, some people told Li Yulai that they would treat me like nothing in this life, but they still pursued me all the way to England and engaged in such a thing as lying to others. Tianhaikiming you, do you think I want to come? If my sister hadn't been begging me, I could even hand over the matter of you accompanying her in England. Do you think I am willing to see you again? It's useless to listen to you talk so much if. Good. 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 After hearing this, Sakeki Hararaku was 100% sure that she was July. Sakeki Hararaku found it unbelievable that Ruri could say those words at the door of the hotel. Ruri, who said those words that he couldn't bear, could actually be Kyo in disguise. Do you feel uncomfortable being deceived? Do you feel that those words that were obviously the pillar of your heart suddenly collapsed and your heart is blocked? Brother, can't you understand this emotion? Ah! Sakeki Hara felt even more ridiculous, and did not avoid her gaze at all. He suppressed her hands with much more force. I don't know who found my heart-to-heart words annoying. Since you don't agree, why bother letting me do it at this time? Will I sympathize with you again? Have I ever denied your idea of comparing one's heart to another's? I have always only asked you to have less contact with more people and to use less of your overflowing compassion. I didn't. Did I have casual contact with other people? Isn't it Higgs-you? Zyuki is in the same situation as you. July, Sakakibara raised his voice slightly. What's the same? You want to accept more women. As your girlfriend, shouldn't I supervise you and ask you to make corrections? Sakakibara regained his composure, let go of her suppressed hands, and closed his eyes in front of her. Sure enough, Kyo, you still haven't realized what I said about you and Zhigzyu's similarities. What part of me as a human being are you denying? Is it wrong to ask you to restrain yourself? That's right. In my previous answer, I also admitted my mistake. Then why don't you correct it? Why do you still want to recruit Zhigzyu to your side? I don't want to repeat it again, July. The thing is very simple. Zhigzyu still needs me, and no one has ever been willing to give her the right guidance. Just like no one has ever really cared about you, and I still want to respond to you, the essence is the same. You know that Zhigzyu won't meet someone who can give her the right guidance. Sakakibara found it funny and left her, sitting on the edge of the bed with his back to her. Then Kyo, why did you bother to worry about me in the first place? It's not impossible that there will be someone who treats you well in the future. Why do you still have to want to pester me after I've rejected you countless times? Force, threaten, beg. Why can't you just be Liuli's sister? Why do you still come to me and want me to be responsible for your feelings? The quarrels and arguments are endless, and neither of them can convince the other with a single word. Even Sakaki Hararaku himself realized that he was settling old scores with Kyo, bringing up past mistakes again and again, blaming the other party, and trying to completely refute the opponent in terms of correctness. By the end of the argument, Sakaki Hara's head was pounding, and he stretched out his hand to hold his head. Try your best to suppress the depression in your heart. Full of exhaustion. That's enough. That's enough, July. I don't want to argue with you anymore. Admit defeat. Sakakibara looked at her face again. No matter whether it was her or himself, there was no expression on it. In July, my life is already tiring enough. What, do you mean you don't want to be responsible? How do you see that I don't want to be responsible? It's because we can't get along now. I can't be responsible, our life concepts are no longer compatible, and you can't agree with my current behavior. I'm tired of dealing with your rejections again and again. Tired? That's normal, isn't it? Amamai Nanamai didn't speak at this time. She noticed that Sakakibara Raku's back suddenly seemed to have aged more than 10 years, full of fatigue. Tell me why you came to me. I said it because my sister begged me. She wanted me to go and listen to you. So what if you listen now? Nothing. Yeah, it's nothing. Sakakibara stood up, went to the sofa, picked up his clothes, put them on, and put his coat on his shoulders. In the end, you were just forced to come here to meet me by Ruri. What would you want to see, my reason? Sakakibara pulled his jacket over his chest and glanced back at Amamai Nanamajetsu, who was sitting on the bed. Just like what I just said. If you want to say that I am wrong, how can I not be wrong? Of course I know that I have made a mistake. What really makes me angry is always that you choose to deny me. July, do you understand? When you believe with all your heart that there is someone who understands you, supports you, and encourages you to move forward. But in the end, this person denies you, how you feel. That day I knew what Liuli heard her aunt say. That's my mood. Tian Haikaimingu saw him zipping up his coat and taking away his mobile phone and wallet, and asked, why did you say those words to me that day? Sakaki Hara was silent for 3 seconds inexplicably. He walked at the door of the hotel bedroom without looking at her. He smiled and said, what else could it be? It's just because you denied me and I hate you. Sakaki Hararaku left alone. Walking alone on the streets of a foreign country, meeting unfamiliar people, walking on an unfamiliar road, and looking at the unfamiliar bricks and tiles under my feet. Sometimes he looked up at the black sky, and sometimes he looked sideways at the citizens and tourists walking in front of Starbucks. He kicked the Coke cans everywhere under his feet and felt that the Japanese on YouTube who said that British streets were all neat and beautiful were all lies. This world is the same everywhere, there are good and bad everywhere. Just like Chi-Chu, who had just quarreled with him, there are good and bad things. You are all hiding under the good skin, useless disadvantages, right? Even the words I heard today were all made by Chi-Chi disguised as Liuli to deceive herself. While walking, Sakakihara came to the bank of the Thames River. Next to the upper left is the iconic British building, the Clock Tower, also called the Elizabeth Tower. He squatted on the shore, not looking at the bell tower of the civilized world, but quietly staring at the featureless water of the Thames. After waiting quietly for a long time, I suddenly wanted to find someone to chat with, so I contacted Aling. I made an international call but was hung up before I could answer it. Probably, she is still busy. I found Zhixu's phone number again, but she never got through. Judging by the time, it was probably that she had just left home not long ago and was playing basketball in the park next to the apartment. There are actually a lot of people playing golf there during the day. 2 days before she left, Sakakibara had already seen her start to learn to play ball with strangers. Sakakihara wanted to find Liuli. Then he remembered that Liuli's mobile phone was in Kyo's hands. I turned around to look for Kyo's account, but found that Kyo had already deleted her contact information. Everyone, isn't this great? After a moment of silence, Sakakihara burst out laughing on the river bank. Aling took the initiative to hang up the phone, indicating that she was busy with her career. Zhixu didn't answer the phone, which meant that she also had someone who could accompany her to play. The fact that Liuli didn't come to England with him meant that she could be independent long ago and didn't care about the agreement she made with him, so she gave the chance until July. July. Not to mention, she had a lively quarrel with herself just now. She has been busy with her company and living her own life a while ago. She is so good that she has become independent a long time ago. What do you need to worry about? Mom, I'm traveling around the world with my uncle. Very good. Everything is very good. Sakakibara smiled, lowered his head, and relied on the weak street lamp beside him to see his own reflection undulating in the river. He stared at his face, which gradually became calmer, until it became completely calm. It was as if he saw another shadow. A face that I should have forgotten long ago. A face that no one remembers from a previous life. Sakakihara Raku was completely silent. What is this life to me? In my previous life, I was used to being alone. No matter what I did, I would sing to myself, encourage myself, and tell myself that I just need to work hard. If you work hard, you will definitely win the game. However, the fact is that no one cares about how hard you have worked. Everyone and the audience only care about the results. Negative emotions are constantly conveyed to me on the internet and in reality. I can bear all these voices, and I can also blame all my mistakes on my lack of hard work. It is necessary to bear these negative emotions because of lack of strength. It's fair to bear the insult because I didn't meet everyone's expectations of definitely being the first and won the first place in the competition. These negative emotions can be tolerated. But if you get used to this kind of emotion, you will inevitably long for it, fantasize, and imagine that someone different from everyone else suddenly appears in front of you, someone who is willing to give you infinite light, infinite care, and warmth in times of suffering. To look forward to the little bits of light seen in the gloomy life. Unfortunately, there was no such character in the previous life, and some of them just had boring endings of being shot to death by the river. I can be sure that my parents, who have not been involved in my life for a long time, will not hold a funeral for my son who was born unexpectedly. Well, it's quite miserable. This life is good, I have a real family in this life, and I have a sister who can hold my legs and call me brother. This kind of kindness and warmth that I had never experienced before made me swear when my father ran away. I had never met someone who was full of infinite light and warmth in my previous life, so I would be such a person to let my mother no longer feel the indifference she felt in her previous life. I should focus on helping everyone and my family. You have to start from an ordinary person and work hard again. Let the sister know that she still has her brother supporting her, and let the mother know that there is a son in the family who is working hard to live with everyone. This mood and thought has continued until today. And therefore, because of these thoughts, the people around him, including Kyo, Liulai, Ling, and Zhigzhu, were all hurt by him. Strictly speaking, we are not wrong. What is wrong is that we want a relationship that can be 100% responsible after being illuminated by the light. Yes, everyone is right. It's my fault that I can't devote 400% of my energy to taking good care of them and handling them harmoniously. The fault lies with you. Raku Sakakibara suddenly stood up in front of the Thames River. He took 2 breaths of the coolness of the night wind and silently stared at the turbulent cold river surface. That's it, do you want it to end? There was a sudden call, and Sakakibara knew who was standing behind him without having to think about it. What are you following me for? I just wanted to see what you wanted to do. It seems like your guess was pretty good. Sakakibara closed his eyes and responded calmly, I thought I was going to jump into the river. You think of me as too fragile. In fact, it's not for this. I just want to leave and don't want to see you again. Tough talk. Oh, everyone has the right to say that about me, but you, who was squatting in front of Tokyo Bay back then, don't have the right to say that. Huh, I never thought about it that way. Sakakibara turned his head and looked straight into the eyes of Amamai Nanamai, talking hard. Well. A sigh suddenly sounded behind Tianhai Kaimingyu. Another girl with long flaxen hair, wearing the same white dress during the day, sighed and walked out. Her eyes swept over the 2 of them and said unhappily, it's true that each one is tougher than the other. In Kyo, wouldn't it be nice if you softened your attitude toward Lejun? Tianhai Kaimingyu looked back at her sister, why? What I said was not wrong. Then it's not like you don't agree with what Lejun said in Kyoyu. Why are you so stubborn? Amamai Kuruori hung the hair that was blown away by the wind by the river behind her ears, looked at Sakakibara Raku in front, and tried to explain, Raku-kun, too, why are you so stubborn? You still care about Kyo so much. Sakakihara Raku saw the 2 of them appearing together. Although he was confused, he didn't want to ask at the moment. I just hate her. I know, Lejun hates her the most. Tianhai Julie Yulai suddenly pinched Tianhai Kaimingyu's arm and motioned for her to step forward and speak for herself. Although Tianhai Kaimingyu looked very dissatisfied, after her sister glared at her, she still stepped forward extremely reluctantly. Actually, very dash. Oh, Chi actually wants to ask Lejun a question. She doesn't want to admit it in her heart, and what Keek did is particularly in line with this mentality. Tianhai Kaimingyu looked very embarrassed. Seeing that there was no movement from Sakakibara Raku, Amamai Kuruori had to take the initiative to speak again, clearing his throat and raising his voice. Lejun, actually Chi was eager to come to the UK with me as soon as she heard me tell you about your current situation. It wasn't like I strongly asked her to come with me, but she lied to you again. Tianhai Kaimingyu held her forehead awkwardly, my sister is just talking nonsense. It's not like that at all. Besides, doesn't it mean that my sister has to drag me here? When I heard that I was coming to the UK with this guy, I was really angry. I didn't want to talk to you, sister, at that time. What? Isn't that what it is? No, okay. Sister, you go down and I'll go on my own. I don't believe it. You guys are definitely going to quarrel again. I try not to talk about him. You said so in July, promise. Ensure. The 2 murmured for a long time, and Sakeki Hararaku just waited without any emotion. It wasn't until Amami Nanami was pushed in front of her with great reluctance by her sister that the two of them looked face to face under the bell tower. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tio Lan. Chapter 453. 10 days ago. There was a beeping sound. The call went through. On the rooftop of the campus, Tianhaiza leaned on the guardrail under the setting sun with one hand, looking at the students who were still going home in twos and threes on the playground. Hey, July. Why don't you speak? At this point in time the other end of the phone sighed obviously. Why is Aunt calling again? If you still want to talk to me about someone, I will choose to block you in the next second. Tianhaiza laughed, turned over, leaned against the rooftop guardrail, and looked at the sky above him that was dyed red by the setting sun. Don't worry, July. I wonder if you have noticed that you have become more and more impatient recently, both in your actions and in your words. Not going well at work. There is no point in discussing these things with my aunt. Auntie is caring about you. I know you are living a good life alone now, doing what you like, and you have your own career to be busy with. After school reading fills your interests and hobbies, and your career satisfies your ambition to move forward. Well, if it bothers you, there is no doubt that with the intelligence of our family in July, we will definitely be able to make our business bigger and stronger like the old man. What exactly does Aunt want to say? Tianhaiza lowered his head, looked at his toes with a smile, and crossed his feet on the ground. Have you ever thought about it in Kyo? Why are you so focused now? Be quiet for a moment. Myself. Really? No need to question this, Aunt. Xiaoqi, this girl, has a tougher mouth than her heart. Xiaoqi, do you still remember what you looked like when you were a child? You have always been taciturn when I see you. You always look like you are holding a book and reading it seriously. I heard from my eldest brother that you have been very obedient since you were a child, and you have never been like me in the past who could not rest for a day without going to the house at that time. I was thinking, what is the reason why a little girl who should be lively can have such self-control? What caused her to take more than 10 trains and taxis all the way from Tokyo to Shikoku a month ago? Auntie, there is no need to say that these are useless. If there is nothing important, I will hang up. Tianhaiza was not in a hurry and glanced at the time. Xiaoqi, can you get off work? Getting ready to leave. Then come to school. I'll wait for you. If you come with me this time, I will promise not to make these useless calls to you again. Otherwise, you know I have no shortage of phone numbers. What is the purpose of Aunt doing this? A spy sent by someone? Don't say that. I just discovered a few things that you must know to judge. Tianhaiza didn't wait for Tianhai Kaimingyu to agree and hung up the phone on his own initiative. After waiting on the rooftop for about 20 minutes, Tianhai Kaimingyu opened the door to the rooftop and came to her. At this time, the sky was already dark. Let's go. Tianhaiza saw her arrival and walked directly towards the rooftop entrance. Where to go? Take you to see something. Tianhai Kaimingyu held her forehead and said, Auntie, I don't have much time to accompany you to make troubles. Since the past few days, you have been calling me. It's completely unnecessary. Isn't it good for me to live alone now? Then what if I say that Xiao and Li Yulai have even bought their tickets to the UK? Tianhai Kaimingyu's shaking head paused for a second. Tianhaiza looked at her face, and his expression no longer showed the usual joking expression, but a very helpless look. Look, I said, you still care about Kyo. At that moment just now, you thinking that Xiao Li will elope with Li Yulai looking happy. I just didn't expect it to happen so quickly. Xiaoqi, you girl likes to be tough talking. Tianhai Kaimingyu, what I said is the truth. According to the agreement between those two people, my sister's competition will not be until next year at the latest. It is best to go to the UK at that time. Have you ever thought about elopement? Elope? Even if it's an elopement, you won't do anything to me at all. Tianhaize shook his head, Kyo, sometimes it's better to be honest. Tianhai Kaimingyu frowned, Auntie, there are some words that I don't want to repeat too many times. The fact is that those words said by a certain guy are destined to part ways in the future. What did Xiao say? Kyo, why do you think Xiao said those things to you? Does this require an answer? Just try to think about it? Absolutely not. Try to think about it first, Tianhaize emphasized his tone. After Tianhai Kaimingyu glanced at her aunt's extremely serious expression, she was silent for a moment and replied with her own thoughts, because of the snow. Is it really because of Zhigzhu? Plus he thought I couldn't agree with his point of view, and he got angry because of it. That's all. Tianhaize, look, don't you have an answer in Kyo? I understand that you are so smart, and you must have doubted more than once why the people you have trusted countless times will continue to deny you again and again like now. Because you can't give an answer, you can only give an explanation of he has changed, right? Tianhai Kaimingyu still didn't answer. Look, you haven't been able to fully explain this in Kyo, right? So, follow me now and I'll take you to see something. After Tianhaize finished speaking, he walked into the corridor first. Tianhai Kaimingyu took advantage of the remaining microscopic light of the setting sun and glanced at her aunt's back before following her. Walk down the teaching building and walk out of the atrium corridor full of sunset. Tianhai Kaimingyu followed Tianhaize all the way to the playground. After Tianhaize took the initiative to stop, Tianhai Kaimingyu saw what her aunt wanted to see for her. In preparation for tomorrow's final, Raku Sakakihara is patiently teaching Yuki Amamai the key points of shooting and offside. Tianhai Kaimingyu frowned again, why are you showing me these? Tianhaize looked at the two people on the basketball court, just from this picture, Zioki, what do you think? You want me to comment on him? Talk about it? Tianhai Kaimingyu was a little reluctant, from the scene in front of me, I can only describe it as warmth. Before they finished speaking, the two people on the basketball court practiced grabbing the basket again. Well, Tianhaize then asked, as for Zioki, what do you think about a person who can now teach Zhigzhu basketball warmly, and who used to practice with her every day to this point, and a person who said those words to you, like is it the same? There is indeed some separation. But there is no conflict. Then keep reading. Tianhai Kaimingyu patiently watched the two's basketball practice until the end. After it was over, the two sat under the basketball hoop, and Sakakihara brought her a bottle of water from the automatic collection machine. Someone even smiled and said something to Zhigzhu. Tianhai Kaimingyu also heard it, which was just some encouragement from someone to go out on the field tomorrow. However, she also noticed that someone had been emphasizing one thing to Zhigzhu, believe in yourself. As for Tianhai Zhigzhu, her sweaty face also had a rare smile, and she happily answered certainly. Xiaoqi, what do you think you saw? Things you don't want to see. What I'm answering for you is that actually what you saw is similar to your experience as a child, right? That person also encouraged you in the past and told you to believe in yourself. Past experiences are telling you that he still has it's the same as before, except that the person is no longer you. Tianhai Kaimingyu didn't know where her aunt got this information, but if she thought about it carefully, she could guess that it was most likely her sister. So what? He has changed. How about you take another look? Tianhai Kaimingyu did not choose to refuse this time, but patiently watched. After Sakakibara sat with Amamai Yuki for a while, he chose to go home. After returning home, Sakakihara Raku didn't stay at home for long. He went downstairs alone and rode his motorcycle towards the street. Tianhai Kaimingyu took the car driven by Tianhaize and followed him all the way to a park next to Tokyo Bay. This park. Tianhai Minjiu remembered that this was the park where she squatted alone. Why come here? Tianhaiza turned the steering wheel and drove towards the parking space next to the park. Just keep following. After getting out of the car, Amami Nanami followed her, and over the guardrail of the park in the woods, she saw Raku Sakakibara sitting alone by the bay drinking. After staying like this for about 10 minutes, Sakakihara Suzu came and the two talked about some things. What impressed Nanami Minjitsu the most were the exchanges between the two brothers and sisters, reminiscing about the past, Raku Sakakibara's half-fatherly attitude, and Suzu Sakakibara's laughter, but her special reliance on her brother's emotions. These also make people feel that he has not changed at all. What is Xiaoqi thinking about again? Are you wondering why he treats you so harshly? Tianhaiza, I know, Kyo, you have a lot of doubts in your heart. There is no way to answer these things, but what I want to say to you is the Xiao you see in front of you still the same as in the past? I don't want to answer. His behavior cannot cover up what he did. His mistakes are right in front of me. Since he doesn't want to correct them, there is no need for me to pay attention to him anymore. Treat him differently or something, it doesn't matter anymore, there's no need for these things now. The exchange between the two siblings seemed to be over. Amami Nanamijetsu saw Sakakibara Suzu take the initiative to ride on the motorcycle and let Sakakibara Raku sit in the back seat of her. This is an extremely heartwarming scene. However, when Amami Nanamijetsu smiled and said that she was about to leave, she saw Sakakibara Raku's extremely indescribable expression. Relief and happiness are all there, but mixed with a trace of sadness that I can't bear to look at her. The two siblings then left. Tianhaizi and Tianhaikimingyu are still in the woods. Amami Nanamijetsu was worried about the conversation between Sakakibara Raku and Suzu just now. Not only the conversation between the two, she also felt that Sakakibara Raku was pushing Sakakibara Suzu forward. And she felt relieved to finally see her grow. It's exactly the same as how someone got along with Shui just now. What does this mean? What answer can my aunt give me? Facing her aunt's face, Tianhaikimingyu asked again. At this time, Tianhaiza did not answer her immediately. Instead, after looking at the cruise ship on the Tokyo Bay, he said slowly. Didn't you notice in Kyo that what Xiao said before was deliberately said to you? Asterisk. Time returns to the present. England, River Thames, side view of Elizabeth Clock Tower. Nanami took the initiative to stand in front of Sakakibara Raku. Sakakihara Raku has long been accustomed to the cold attitude of the people in front of him. So, why do you come all the way to England when you don't want to see me at all? I just want to ask a question. And you don't hesitate to act for it? Aren't you disgusted with me already? That's it? Quiet. Sakakibara understands that the relationship between the two is so unfamiliar now. But so what? She has no connection with him now. I also made a decision in my heart just now. Remember to have a softer attitude. July, Tianhai Julie Yulai shouted softly behind her sister. Sakakihara Raku also saw her, and then withdrew his gaze and looked at the person in front of him. Just ask whatever you want, Nanamijiu. Forget it, what I want to ask is, did you mean to say some of the things you said? That's all you want to ask. Otherwise. I'm sorry, Kyo. I really hate you now, and I only have sympathy for you. Can you stop pestering me like you did before? I'm really tired. Lie. Tianhaikimingyu restrained her usual arrogance and just said calmly. I really don't know what you are talking about. Aren't you the one with the harsh words? After Sakakibara finished speaking, he sighed again. Nanaminjiu, can you let me go? Really, every time I deal with you like this, I am very tired and extremely tired. I know that I am wrong in some places. I am indeed sorry for you. But didn't you also say that all that is in the past? Now let's just live our own lives and not offend each other, okay? After Sakakibara finished speaking, he turned around and left. But Tianhai Kaimingyu blocked him in front of him, asshole. She even scolded her. Why are you scolding me again? What are you if you're not a bastard? Dot. A small moment of quiet. Yes, I am a bastard. So you don't need to care about me as a bastard now, right? Sakakihara wanted to leave, but she grabbed her wrist. How? You are not allowed to leave. Auntie, are you the one who hates me, the one who won't let me go, or you? Amamai Nanamajetsu looked at the current Sakakibara Raku, and saw countless tiredness on his face. I am not the only one who forbids you to leave, but also my sister, Suzu, and Yuki. What does it have to do with them? Do you think they have grown up and become independent? You can leave alone. Do you think you can make me hate you completely by saying those words, and then I won't care about you anyway? Tianhai Kaimingyu's voice even softened. Why did you say those words on purpose? So angry. Lie. Sakakihara Raku, you knew from the beginning that your behavior brought harm to everyone, so you are deliberately pretending to be arrogant and self-sufficient to let everyone realize that you have changed, which makes me extremely disgusted. The existence of this guy like you. What you want to do is to separate yourself from my Enling's lives, make them independent, and allow them to live on their own. There is no need for you to exist beside them at all. You're right, I am indeed tired. I have had enough of what my personality brings. Sakakibara raised his head, faced Nanamai's face, and smiled. Isn't it? In Kyo, you have been hurt time and time again because of my character. I even did things that hurt your feelings for Zhigsu. Isn't it my fault? Which one of Liulai and Zhigsu became what they became not because of me? Like this now? How about you just let me, a rotten person, finish the last thing quietly and then disappear quietly? Can't agree. If my brother has really become the kind of person who is extremely self-centered, and really regards her relationship with him as a sympathetic person, then I will not care about what he will do at all. But after understanding that this guy knew that he couldn't make up for the damage he caused, so he deliberately said those words just to make himself hate him. The nature has changed. This guy has changed, but he has become no longer egotistical and arrogant. Instead, he has become more extreme than before. He wants to leave all the good things to others, and only leaves all the most uncomfortable emotions to himself. That's why he said those words to himself, to make himself hate him and actively choose to cut him out of his life. That's why he keeps encouraging Zhigsu to go her own way, and keeps letting Ling learn to live on her own, and that's why he suddenly invites Liulai to come to the UK to fulfill her innermost wish. This bastard decided from the beginning to take all the negative emotions into himself. I disagree. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Buletin 11 Huan Tio Lan. Chapter 454. I don't know how I feel. I don't know how to describe my mood at this time. When Tianhai Kaimingyu faced the person in front of her, she never thought that he would think so at the beginning. So what were you planning to do? Is it important? Sakakihara asked softly. Of course it's important. I want to know your answer. Sakakibara's eyes stayed on her face for a second longer, shook his head, and took the initiative to throw away her hand. Nana Minjio, what happened is no longer important. Then what do you think is important? Is it that after everyone no longer needs you, you choose to take on everything and leave alone? What good will this do to you? The good things will always be left to others, and what about yourself? Tianhai Kaimingyu completely understood. After he was completely angry, this guy knew that with his own personality, he would continue to make people around him uncomfortable and painful. This is true for my sister, Ling Zhixu, and myself. That's why he deliberately said those excessive words to himself after that, and continued to encourage and cultivate Ling Yuxiu's growth to fulfill his sister's dream. This bastard understands his own mistakes and knows that there is no way to solve these mistakes. No matter which side he chooses, he will hurt the other side. That's why he pushes everyone's back, and when he hates him, everyone does not when you need him again, go away silently. Idiot. Tian Haikaimingu thought about this kind of person for a long time, and finally could only find this word to describe him. Swearing at me again. It's you who's being scolded, you idiot, idiot. Although he was a little tired, it was now that Nanamijiao still looked so domineering. Raku Sakakihara felt even more tired and uncomfortable. Okay, since you hate me so much, then don't say so much in front of me, and leave me alone. Under the street lamp, Sakakibara Raku hadn't finished speaking. When he raised his head, he saw the little bit of crystal in the eyes of Amamai Kaimingyu. Why are you still crying? Besides, she is Chi Minjiao, how can she cry? Sakakihara Raku found that in the eyes of Amamai Nanamijetsu staring straight at her, there were not only tears, but also the true feelings that she had not expressed in her heart as her eyes trembled. What is this? Can't bear to leave yourself? From her perspective, the things she did were not enough to make her angry. It's not that Sakakihara Raku wants to escape from them, but that being around them will only cause them to cause unpleasant things again and again. This brings pain to everyone, and the wounds in everyone's hearts are irreparable. Since Chi Minjiao hates herself so much, since Ling, Zhixu, and Li Yulai have all been hurt again and again because of herself, then, let they no longer need to be by their side and let them be able to live happily on their own. This is enough. Then what should you do? Tian Haikaimingu asked this question again on the bank of the Thames. What should I do? To be honest, it seems that I have never seriously thought about it, nor have I seriously dealt with this issue. In my last life, I was miserable and no one could like me. It's probably because of this relationship that I want to take care of the unloved guy around me again and again. I want to give them warmth and care. This is also equivalent to redeeming myself from the suffering in the past. He doesn't want them to end up in the same miserable situation as he did in his previous life. What should I do? I really never thought that as long as I could help people in the same situation as myself, I would be able to gain happiness and salvation. It's the same feeling as a child who grows up in an orphanage and wants to start a family in the future and doesn't want his own children to become orphans. You guys are always like this. Why am I always like this? Chi Minjiao, don't you guys have the same bad habits? You have a vicious tongue, you are also arrogant, and you are also extremely aloof. You are obviously feeling very uncomfortable, but you still insist on saying that you are fine. You are fine? You are really fine. I don't know yet. Is it fun to come to England and play pretend games with me while saying you hate me? Since you hate me, why don't you go further away? Because you are always such a bastard. How do I? Before Sakakihara Raku could finish his words, he felt something bump into his arms. He looked down. His hands had been subconsciously placed on the flaxen hair, and she had put her head on his shoulders. Their heads were intertwined with each other, and they were full of familiarity with each breath. The fragrance of green apple. There were no words, just the sound of the wind blowing by the river. This is probably because Tian Haikaimingu wants to use practical actions to convey her inner thoughts at the moment. Still, I don't want you to leave. She hugged her waist tightly, and the words she spoke through the movements of her hands became so clear. However, Sakakihara Raku didn't find this heartwarming. You must know that an hour or two ago, he was arguing with her on the bedside. The relationship that had been estranged for a long time was now so close again, and Sakakihara just felt very uncomfortable. He sighed softly and said earnestly. You were the one who said you hated me before. I have to correct you. You are the one who said I hate this word first. I just said that I can no longer accept your endless sympathy. Nanama, you said calmly on Sakakibara Raku's shoulder. But in July, didn't you also get the thing you most expected in your life because of this compassion? Sakakibara opened his hands outwards and did not choose to take the initiative to hug her. Then this cannot be the reason for you to accept other women. I cannot accept that you choose to break your promise. Hearing this almost whispering words, Raku Sakakihara once again heard the insecurities that existed in her heart in the past. Why is July so insecure? It is not difficult to guess now. She is afraid of being abandoned, just like her mother left her alone on a rural platform in the past. It is obvious that what a lonely and aloof person really fears in his heart is loneliness. July is also such a contradictory person. You are holding me like this because you don't want me to leave. If you don't speak, take it as your acquiescence. What is there to miss about a rotten person like me? Feelings cannot be responsible. People cannot be satisfied. I have to keep messing around with women. You are so good. Wouldn't it be better if you left me? After waiting for a long time, Sakakihara Raku saw Amamikuruori smiling at him on the other side of the street lamp. He sighed and looked away. When I set out to come to England, my aunt said something to me. What words? When you are angry, people will always only see the bad side of things. Just like when quarreling, everyone will bring out the past mistakes of the other party and repeat them. In the quarrel, you must reduce the other party to be worthless. This will establish your own victory. What does Chi Minjaya want to say through this? This is irrational. Because magnifying the worst side will only make the good sides of the past disappear. Many things are not irreversible, but they are just temporarily irrational. And I need to repay yours, the things you brought to me, I will never be able to repay. Hearing this, Sakakibara couldn't help but sigh. Chi was actually talking about the care he gave her when she was a child, right? Her feelings are too deep, and because she understands her own character, she has never felt safe. Not just at first, but as a gift from someone just for my birthday. Don't know what to say. Should I say July? Is it too affectionate? On the surface, she seems to care the least about feelings, but in fact she is the one who needs feelings the most among all people. I don't know who said I didn't need a gift that day. Ugly, no need. You are still being stubborn. If I had given you an ugly one in Kyoto, you would have accepted it. After all, which girl is so stupid and likes shark dolls so much at this age? If you don't need it, you don't need it. You're still being arrogant. But that's it. If you weren't arrogant, you wouldn't be you in July. Who doesn't know that you are a sharp-tongued fellow? Did you hear what my aunt said, that I wanted to die, so you rushed to the UK to find me? Who wants to die? It's just I just feel tired and want to go out and find out if there is any other place that can make me happy. Sakakibara looked up and saw stars filling the night sky. Actually, I have already thought about it. I will go to a remote orphanage to stay. I usually help the children there with cooking, tutoring and homework. I want them to understand that they don't have to envy normal families. In a big family, everyone is a brother and sister, everyone will support each other, and everyone will move forward. There is no cynicism, and we never laugh at the shortcomings of family members, but tolerate and guide each other in a friendly way. He grows and changes. It's really your style, Tian Haikiming said. Haha, what else? If everyone can say thank you to me, I would be quite satisfied. No wonder the children in the orphanage liked you so much. Well, if nothing else, I am quite popular with children. Had a chat. The atmosphere has indeed relaxed a lot. But Sakakibara took the initiative to push Nanami away. July. Just these things don't mean that the wrong things I did don't exist. Halfway through his words, a slender index finger touched his mouth. Tian Haikaiminyu stretched out her hand. Although her eyes were a little red, she still looked like her usual faceless face. I know what you want to say. You think that the wrong things you have done cannot be ignored, and what you do around us will cause us to be hurt again and again. But are these not your arrogance, brother? Look at the sisters in the back, think about Ling now, and recall the snow now. Which of them didn't become what they are today because of your good side? Have they grown up differently? Without you, Ling would not have grown up so well in that family environment. Zhigzu is still spending every day in my hometown without you. Without you, my sister will only be under the control of her mother to fulfill her dream of becoming a star in the art world. They are all as bright as they are now because of you, brother. Tian Haikaimingyu's eyes shone brightly, and her tone became softer. Brother, you should never only see the bad side of things. Everything has good and bad sides. Even they and I will think you are a bastard at some point, but this does not mean that your good qualities will disappear. If it were not for you, for everyone's sake, we will not get together at all, and experience a different life in a tortuous but fun life. If Ling knew that you would leave her side, she would definitely cry the hardest, leave all her work behind, and desperately want to find you. For her, after more than 10 years of experience, you are the right partner in her life. The same is true for Zhigzu, my sister, and me. Brother, when you save us, we will also care about you. Brother, your position in everyone's hearts is far more important than you think. The wind by the river blew the girl's flaxen hair. Sakakibara looked at her real face, her sky-blue eyes, and her throat rolling gently along with the water beside her. He didn't know why, but he smiled slightly. Yuxin laughed. Then it was interrupted. Of course, there is a premise. Tian Haikaiminyu crossed her arms. What? Raku Sakakihara was shocked that this warm moment was interrupted in less than a moment. Explain clearly why you chose to take Zhigzu back and how you plan to place her. She is really like a young lady, she is aloof and condescending. Shouldn't this be asked? Yes, second Miss Tianhai, of course you should ask. But according to second Miss, do you want to get back together with me? Sorry, I won't agree. To be precise, after I understand that you are not so selfish, I want to take back what I said before. Wait, what do you mean? How can we get back together less than 3 months after we broke up? I think it would be nice to have less restraints on weekdays. Do you think what I said is not enough? Do you want me to say it again? Sakakibara just wanted to make a joke, but he didn't expect that Amami Nanami would care about him again. Seeing Tian Haikaiminyu rarely be so sincere, he no longer meant to be joking. He put his fist into his mouth, coughed twice and said, Ahem, don't worry, I really have no intention of seeking death. From the beginning, I just wanted to go out and find something to do. Tian Haikaiminyu stared at him with half-closed eyes. I said it so lightly, but I just wanted to carry everyone on my back and fly away. Don't worry about these details. Also, this is what you think about Zhigzu in July. Tian Haikaiminyu first sighed helplessly, then crossed his arms and said, What happened to Zhigzu was not your or her fault in the first place. I have never hated her or anything. I just feel that your previous actions are unacceptable to me. What now? I'm very angry now. But since Lingdu said she won't get married, why don't I understand what she means? Now it's just one more Ling. As Tianhai Chi Minjiao spoke, he put down his hands again, sighed and said, It was my fault that Zhigzu took my casual response last time seriously. It was also because of that incident that Higsyu's problem surfaced in advance. I came out of the water, but since you, brother, can handle grandpa, then there won't be that many things going on in the future. In addition, if you, brother, hadn't argued with your father and grandpa, my sister and I wouldn't have been able to live so comfortably in the back. From now on, for one thing, I still have to thank you. Reconciled. Tianhaijuli Yulai, who had been watching behind for a long time, appeared behind her sister at this time. She was extremely happy to see that the two of them could communicate so calmly now. Look, Lejun, let me just say that Chi-Chi followed me from Tokyo in a hurry because I was worried about you. Sakeki Hararakudo looked at Amamai Kuruori, who was dressed exactly like Amamai Nanamayu, and thought of what happened today, the whole day. Tianhaijuli Yulai explained with a smile, it was me in the morning, and July in the afternoon. Then it was me in the bathroom, and I was chatting with Lejun at the door of the hotel. It was actually July. The one who lost his high heels is July. Lejun must have been deceived. Can't you tell the difference? Don't play like that again, I can't recognize you. It can only be someone's problem if they can't recognize it. Tianhai Kaimingyu interjected. Tianhaijuli Yulai hugged her sister's arm and smiled, isn't it interesting? Besides, Lejun, where will Kyo stay tonight? We can't let her have a hotel room by herself. It would be nice for me to chat with her at night. I sleep on the sofa. Don't sleep together. Anything is fine. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tio Yu Lan. Chapter 455. Time is changing and summer is in full swing. The sun will be bigger. Sakeki Harasuzu hates and loves summer. She hates it because of the heat. She hates sweating the most. And I like it because I can stick with my brother every summer. You can also watch TV next to him on the sofa, and invite him to your air-conditioned bedroom to study together when he is studying. The most important. It's a fireworks display that happens every year, just for two people. But, well. Sakeki Harasuzu raised her face, she wanted to complain. Now the brother is not only his own, but even the air conditioner in his room has to be divided up by the other three women. Hateful. How abominable. Sakeki Harasuzu raised her face blankly and lay on her side on her big bed filled with rabbit dolls. She stared straight at the backs of the three people playing games beside the bed. 9 colored glazes in the sky and sea, 7 bright moons in the sky and sea, and snow in the sky and sea. These three women from the Tianhai family. A woman from the Tianhai family. Woman. Let's talk. The air conditioner was whirring, and through the closed curtain, only a trace of sunlight leaked onto the wooden floor. No one responded. Sakeki Harasuzu was forced to raise her voice, hey, I said it. Tianhai Chi Minjiao, who was playing fighting games with her sister, was the first to respond, staring directly at the TV screen, concentrating on it. July, let's see what the moves are. Unlike her younger sister, Tianhaijuli Yulai was particularly excited to play the game. The question was interrupted. Seeing that the two sisters were playing more and more happily, Sakaki Harasuzu, who was lying on the bed, suddenly collapsed on the bed and asked the question directly. Why do you all come to my room? Because you're the only one whose air conditioner isn't broken. But there's no need for you to move the TV into my room. However, her words did not receive any further response. Sister Tianhai's attention remained on the TV. The younger sister pressed the handle quickly, but she was still one move away from her elder sister. The character is defeated and the word KO is displayed on the screen. Oh yeah. This time it's our winning streak against July 8th. Sister Li Yulai is so amazing. Haha. Don't be complacent. From July to July, the defeated generals will be defeated. Okay, let's change Yuki for Yuki. Several people exchanged words, and half of the room was occupied by them. As the host, Sakakihara Suzu couldn't get in a word, and she was extremely depressed. She reached to the bedside, grabbed a carrot doll, and placed it on her breastless chest. She pressed her body on it, and her 2 feet under her shorts were lifted up and down alternately. So, Sakakibara Suzu pouted her fleshy face and began to ask Amami Nanamajetsu, who was sitting at the preparation table. She knelt on a soft cushion. Can you listen to me now if you have time? Well, tell me. Sister Kyo knows what my brother has been busy with recently, and why he always doesn't see anyone for a long time. Aren't you still quarreling? Him. After he came back from England last time, he took the initiative to say that he wanted to visit our company. That investment foundation of yours. Yes. Suzu Sakakihara became curious, and squirmed forward, coming to Nanami's shoulder. Sister Chiu, how does your company generally operate, and what is your job? Simply put, an investment foundation is an organization that achieves its goals by investing endowment funds in a variety of assets, pursuing returns, and supporting specific social projects. Oh, Suzu Sakakihara nodded in realization. I don't understand at all. Tian Haikimingyu flicked her hair and explained with her eyes closed, it can be said that half of my foundation is engaged in charity and public welfare. While we invest, we will also provide appropriate management experience support to newly established micro-enterprises. For companies under our name that are not operating well, our foundation will also cooperate with them appropriately and adjust their strategic policies appropriately according to the market and conditions. I still don't understand. Sister Kyo, what are you doing on a daily basis? Can you make it simpler? Let's put it this way, my job is to review the actual status of some investment companies and the financial support information they apply to us. The foundation's finances will ultimately need to be reviewed by me before they can be decentralized and approved. Censor. More work than a censor does. Then don't we have to inspect this thing every day? Most of the time. Suzu Sakakihara suddenly realized, no wonder I haven't been home recently. It turns out that I've been doing these things. He has done very well recently. When I looked at the information he reviewed, I couldn't find any faults at all. Tian Haikimingyu nodded twice, and her smooth and shiny flaxen hair swayed up and down. It's just that he doesn't need to do these things at all. It's the same as letting me do it. He just needs to stay at home and cook for me every day. Hey, if this happens, my brother will be turned into a pretty boy by you. Brother, you are not convinced. After all, he is also a man. There's nothing wrong with a man being kept. Besides, it's not like I can't afford to support him. There is something else that Sakakihara Suzu is particularly curious about. It had been almost a month since she last flew back from England, but she didn't hear any movement in Chi Minjiao's room next door. It shouldn't be. I used to fight all night every day. She couldn't sleep well. So, Sakakibara Suzu squirmed again, speeding up to approach Amami Nanamayu's ear. Then he asked her in a low voice like a whisper. I want to ask Sister Kyo a question. Sister Kyo, don't be angry. Ask, I'm in a good mood now, Tian Haikimingyu answered quickly and concisely. That's right, that's right. Sakakibara Suzu whispered in Amami Nanamajetsu's ear for a while, and then quickly retracted her head. Why do you care about this? Tian Haikimingyu frowned. Sakakihara Suzu smiled sheepishly. Just ask. Hey. Let me explain first, I have never heard anything from you two. The wall is so thick, I can't possibly hear it, right, hee. Stupid sister. Tian Haikimingyu originally didn't want to talk to her anymore, but she muttered and suddenly said. It's been a month. Including the quarrel you had before, I'm afraid it's been 3 months, almost 4 months. It's been so long. Sister Kyo, do you think it's my brother who has something wrong? Dot. Even if Tian Haikimingyu no longer wants to care about this, she still has doubts. Looking back, there are no clues in this. Someone's recent performance can be described in 2 words, serious. How serious is it? Tian Haikimingyu even saw her father's workaholic attitude, with no regard for the dignity of the family. Is a bit. Sakaki Harasuzu immediately answered, look. Let me tell you. If it's not that you haven't reconciled yet and you have relationship problems, then it must be that my brother was so depressed that he went into trouble last time. Asuzu found out afterwards that Sakakibara wanted to fly away alone. When she heard that Sakakibara actually wanted to leave, she cried angrily on the spot. Sakakibara punched Sakakibara hard with her fist before she even put down her luggage. What to say, if you dare to disappear, I will immediately go to the park where you drink beer and jump into Tokyo Bay. The brother was holding his sister's fist and his expression was particularly complicated. This just proves how much Suzu cares about her brother. But, why does she even care about this aspect now? Oh, Sakaki Harasuzu yawned and waved her hands, with a carrot pressed on her chest, I'm just thinking about myself. For yourself, Tian Haikimingyu didn't believe it at all. Of course. Sister Kyo, look, if my brother dies, you and Sister Liuli will never have a happy life in the future. Sakakibara Suzu quickly covered her mouth when she saw Amami Nanamayu's eyes that were so cold that they were almost freezing to death. At the same time, she was still happily teasing Sister Kyo for being so arrogant. Still shy about this. Obviously, we can't talk to my brother every day before tomorrow. We can't talk about this. Am I not caring about everyone? Sister Kyo doesn't want my brother to have any problems again, right? Tian Haikimingyu caressed her lower jaw, tilted her head, her expression looked particularly kind, but what does this have to do with you, Ling? I want to see you all happy. Yeah, Suzu Sakaki Hara nodded repeatedly, that's it. There's something fishy about Sister Chan's words. But it doesn't matter to me. What's important is that she did mention an important point just now. Is someone dying? After finishing the game, Tian Haijuli got up and went to the refrigerator to get a bottle of water. Sakakibara Suzu and Amami Yuki played video games, and Amami Nanami took the opportunity to ask her sister insinuatingly. Elder sister? Huh, Tian Haijuli held the mineral water bottle and agreed. Has someone approached you recently to deal with XY? Puff. The sip of water Tian Haijuli just took into his mouth spurted out. Fortunately, he reacted quickly and didn't spray it on Suzuki Yuki's head. The two of them were so focused on playing games that they didn't notice the movement of Julie behind them. Chi-Chu, what did you say? Tian Chi Minjiao saw her sister's face turn red, she stretched out her hand to lift her hair, it's normal. What do you call this, normal? Isn't it normal? Okay, sister, just answer me. Tian Haijuli was quite angry. Despite the serious expressions on her twin sister's face, she actually just wanted to see herself embarrassed. Isn't seeing me embarrassed the same as seeing yourself embarrassed? Tian Haijuli has always been a little confused about the thoughts of her sister, a little devil who hides so much. Ahem. What? No. Tian Hai Chi Minjiao heard it clearly now, she picked up her chin and said, no. Not even once in the past 4 months. No, Tian Haijuli raised her voice reluctantly, as if she was speaking with a breath in her mouth, and raised her chin slightly. Have you gone to the hospital for a checkup? Tian Haijuli was puzzled and opened his eyes again, okay, why are you going to the hospital for a checkup? Don't you think it's serious, Sister. What's serious? He hasn't touched you in 4 months. Tian Haijuli Yulai was stunned for a moment, and then his pupils shrank slightly. Tian Hai Kaiming Yu, understood. At this time, Tian Haijuli Yulai also became serious. She tried hard to recall, very hard, when was the last time Li Jun asked her for a kiss. After a little calculation, it turned out to be 46 days ago, almost 2 months ago. Something's wrong, something's very wrong. In the past, even if I didn't take the initiative to ask him for a hug, he would still come to me. She also likes to sleep in her arms at night, hugging each other and sleeping together. But now there is no more kissing or talking, and no more sleeping with her in her arms. And after I came back from England, I didn't realize this the whole time. Tian Haijuli Yulai's thoughts, this is something bad. Is it a relationship crisis? Is it because I'm tired of dating? Don't worry, sister. Didn't he hear you say you wanted to eat spicy barbecue yesterday and bring you a piece of barbecue home alone? That's right. Tian Haijuli Yulai calmed down instantly. She looked at her sister, then this is either an emotional problem or Lejun has a problem of his own. Tian Hai Kaimingyu covered her mouth slightly and half closed her eyes. Maybe it's because my sister stays at home every day and wears t-shirts and shorts all the time. She has no charm at all. When someone sees my sister, she has no feeling at all. July. Ah, I was wrong, sister, don't bully me. Last time I took a shower in the bathroom, you rubbed me badly. Really? Tian Haijuli Yulai muttered to vent his dissatisfaction, and then remembered what his sister had just said. Blushing with embarrassment, she held up the white t-shirt on her upper body, then pulled down her shorts that did not reach her thighs, and finally glanced at the big white legs extending out from under her shorts. The girl looked left and right, her heart filled with worry. Really, it doesn't look good. Quite good looking. They are home casual clothes and they have big white legs. The key is that my sister is also tall, and she looks like a big sister. But precisely because of this, it is even more clear that something is wrong with someone. Even if Tian Hai Kaimingyu doesn't want to believe her sister Zhang now, she still has to think about it in that direction. Sister, ask him directly why he hasn't come to see you recently. The Tian Hai sisters looked at each other for a few seconds. Good. Amamai Kuruuri turned around, groped on the carpet for a while to find the phone, and called Sakakibara Raku directly. Tian Hai Kaimingyu reminded me before connecting, don't ask directly, just ask around. Tian Haijuli Yulai gestured okay to her sister, and the call was connected within 10 seconds. Hey, Lejun. As she spoke, she walked out of the bedroom and locked the door. Amamai Nanamajetsu was in Sakakibara Suzu's room, watching the electronic confrontation between her sister Chan and Yuki. Bottom left. Upper left left. Wave fist. Whoosh, whoosh, look, I'm going to kill you. I'm so energy consuming. Game sound, KO. Ah. Suzu Sakakihara held her head and roared, why do you lose every time? I don't accept it. Come again. It seems that Sister Chan can only become a loser. At this time, Tian Haijuli Yulai opened the door and walked in. Tian Hai Kaimingyu looked over and asked. How was it? What did you say? Tian Haijuli Yulai opened her mouth and looked at Lingxiu and the two who were playing games. After confirming that they were not paying attention, she walked up to her sister and said hesitantly in her ear. I think there may be something really wrong with Lejun.